if it isn't all of you. Hi, hello, welcome back everybody to the Daily Cooking Show, to the Daily Cooking Stream. If you're currently watching this live, it is Wednesday, June 5th. It is Wednesday, June 5th. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. It is good to have all of you. And I see that we have all of my little sous chefs in the chat. Hello to Count JP. Hello to Jack. Hello to Dolingo as well. Hello to Trash Can Cat Mom. Welcome on in. It is good to have all of you. Hope you're all having a really beautiful Wednesday today. We are back. We have another full week of cooking streams. We have a whole week of cooking shows coming up on ahead of us. Trash Can Cat Mom, hi, hello to you as well. It is lovely to have you. I'm also really excited about today's stream. I'm really excited about today's show because we're going to be doing a dish that I've never actually attempted to have at home. But this is a dish that is really popular in all parts of East Asia, especially in China. And then this is a dish that I also really love eating and going out to eat. We're going to be doing today, my friends, a really proper, beautiful Cantonese style steamed fish. It's not going to be a whole fish. Instead, I just have a couple of tilapia fillets, and we'll talk about that in a second and why I'm using that. But we're going to be doing a Cantonese style steamed fish. And there's a reason why. This is a dish that I actually really love. This is the kind of a dish that you go out for where something is a little bit celebratory, where you go out to a restaurant and it's so delicate. The meat is so sweet, the meat is so tender, the meat is like super juicy. And then oftentimes you do like a really lovely seasoned soy sauce as well. So you do like a soy sauce with a sugar and like a little bit of spices in there as well, something with a lot of flavor. And then oftentimes you also pour over super hot oil to fry some scallions and ginger on top of it. So you get something aromatic, you get something delicious, you get something really supple and something really tender. So I love Cantonese style steamed fish. This is something that I love going out to eat with people, and this is just something very integral to that kind of culture. So alongside the steamed fish, what will we be eating alongside it? We'll also be doing a lovely tofu mushroom braise. I have some tofu, I have some mushrooms. We're going to be doing that with some soy sauce and some sugar. We'll do a basic, just plain old white jasmine rice, and then alongside all of that is going to be the aforementioned seasoned soy sauce. The seasoned soy sauce to go alongside this really delicate, this really delicious steamed fish, and it's going to be lovely. So let's go ahead and talk about all of our ingredients that we need for today. Let's talk about them one by one. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and just start with the fish that I will be using. Everybody, I have these two super tiny, really delicate tilapia fillets. And we'll talk about why is this the kind of fish that I'm using, what are the kind of fishes that you're looking for if you're buying a fish for a steamed fish, and why I'm not using a whole fish. Well, everybody, let me tell you something. At least in my part of New York, to buy any whole fish, it is a lot of money. Seafood is incredibly expensive. However, one of the most affordable ways to get seafood is to buy packs of frozen fillets, especially if you're in most parts of the United States. The majority of the seafood that you see, and I need to hear a nice yes, chef, please and thank you. The majority of the fish that you see at supermarkets, at stores, that you already see packaged, already defrosted, okay, as like packaged and sold to you as a fillet, has already been at some point or another frozen. So the best way to get reliable fresh fish, unless you're buying it whole and live, is to buy packs of frozen fillets. Once again, the fillets that you see sold in supermarkets that are in the fish aisle, that are in the fish counter, that are in the seafood counter, they've already typically been frozen. They've already been frozen and you don't know how long it's been thawing. And so I buy a couple of frozen fillets, and all I do is I defrost them under some running water, and that is how you ensure that you get the freshest possible fish. Also, thank you so much to Karate Kuba. Thank you for the sub. Hope you're having a lovely day today. Thank you for the support. So everybody, once again, 2 tilapia fillets ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and put that back into my fridge. But traditionally, this is the kind of a dish that you would do with a beautiful whole fish. So if you can, my friends, find your local Asian grocery store, find your local Chinese grocery store, and try to buy like something like a nice whole snapper, okay? Just like any white-fleshed fish, something very delicate, something not too fatty will be ideal for today. Okay, so that's my tilapia. Let's talk about some of the other ingredients. This is going to be for the tofu mushroom braise. I have 1 green chili because I have a leftover serrano. Is this traditionally used within Chinese cooking? Not particularly, but we have it, and so we're going to use it. And then we have what I think is the best mushroom. Everybody, I have a bunch of beautiful shiitake mushrooms. I love shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms, they have so much flavor. They have a real juiciness to them as well. And so I have a whole load of them, and that's going to be going into the tofu and shiitake braise. I'll be going ahead and setting that down. Next, let's talk about some more of my inspiration for today. So the cilantro was actually my initial source of inspiration for today. I have this big bundle of cilantro in the fridge and I wanted a way to use it up. And so some of the cilantro is going to be used towards making the seasoned soy sauce, and then some of the cilantro is going to be just served with the fish directly. So this is, again, the cilantro, I remember just like getting like this beautiful like whole steamed fish with like these really, really fresh stalks of cilantro, and it just makes everything so aromatic and so beautiful. So I have a bunch of fresh cilantro here, my friends. That was a source of inspiration for you today. In addition to that, I also have some lovely scallions, because you guys, you can't have Chinese food without any scallions. So I have some scallion whites, I have some scallion greens. Some of this is going to go towards the seasoned soy sauce, some of this is going to go towards the fish itself. I'm going to go ahead and set that behind me. And then let's talk about this myriad of different bottles that I have behind me. Okay, so first we got some Shaoxing wine. This is going to go towards the braise as well as the seasoned soy sauce. We have a mixture of both light and dark soy sauce that will be used in everything. We also have some Chinese black vinegar. Okay, and this is going to be used towards the braise just to give it a little bit of extra acidity, and that'll be very delicious and welcome. We have some toasted sesame seed oil. Okay, so it's not the blonde kind. This is black sesame seed oil, meaning it's already been toasted, and this is going to be used to finish up the soy sauce as well as a couple of the other dishes. So I have that all ready to go for today, my friends. And then last but not least, some garlic, and then also some ginger as well. So a lot of stuff that we need to go ahead and do for today. We have to make the seasoned soy sauce. We have to make the rice, we have to make the tofu mushroom braise, and then we also have to very gently and delicately steam the fish. Is everybody ready for today? I want to hear a nice, resounding, universal yes, chef. Please and thank you before we begin. And everybody, let's do some housekeeping as well. First and foremost, if you haven't already done so, please, please, please check out my Patreon. You can type in ! Patreon in the Twitch chat, or you can scroll down and go into the About section. My goal is to be able to do these streams full time, and so any and all support on the Patreon will go a really long way. And as always, anybody, if you have any cooking questions for me at all, please feel free at any point to ask me. It can be about this dish, it can be about something else. But in the meantime, I think it is time for us to finally do something with fish, because normally on the show, on the stream, we never really do anything fish-like aside from shrimp. So I'm pretty excited to do the steamed fillets. Tilapia is not the most exciting fish, but guess what? It's cheap and it's easy to buy packs of it frozen, and so that's why we're using it. So we have to do all the prep work for today. We have to go ahead and make the soy sauce. We have to do the tofu mushroom braise. Let's go ahead and begin now. Okay, so I already have my cutting board all ready to go for today. That's already here, that's already active. And now we can start thinking about some of the prep that we need to do. So, everybody, I have these lovely shiitake mushrooms. Now, the mushrooms that you can use for this kind of a dish are basically entirely up to you. But the reason why I love shiitake mushrooms, I love shiitake mushrooms for two reasons. First of all, affordability. A lot of mushroom varieties, especially if we're thinking of things like lion's manes and all these like new mushroom varieties that people are now beginning to explore, they're really, really expensive for a lot of different people in parts of the country, and it's difficult to find. The beauty of shiitakes, right, is that you can find them basically in all supermarkets, and if you can't, you just have to go to your local Chinese grocery store. So these are really, really accessible, and they have so much more flavor. Compared to things like portobello mushrooms, cremini mushrooms, white button mushrooms, all of them taste fairly identical. Shiitake mushrooms, my friends, they're so meaty, they're so plump, they're so juicy. My favorite thing is getting a shiitake mushroom inside of, like, whenever I'm going out for a hot pot. I love the way that mushrooms, specifically shiitake mushrooms, they just sort of cup onto the sauce, they cup onto the liquid as they're picking it up, and they have such an amazing texture to them. So, a whole bunch of shiitake mushrooms. I already got rid of the stems because the stems are a little bit too woody. It depends on your variety of mushrooms. Some of them are good to eat with the stems on. I would argue for shiitakes, it would be nice to remove them. Okay, so all that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get these into a much more manageable bite-sized piece. Okay, and this is a core part of my cooking philosophy. Imagine, right, you have this bowl of tofu and mushrooms, and you're biting into this massive whole mushroom piece. It's a little clunky, you have to hold it with your chopsticks, you have to pull it out. So I don't want to mess with that. I think that's a really, really huge headache. Everybody, I'm just going to go ahead and just chop it into nice bite-sized pieces. Think about the kind of chunks that you would like to bite into, and that's what we'll be going for. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through my shiitakes, and because of how much mushrooms shrink when they cook, you don't have to be super perfect with this, okay? But I'm just going to be chunking it up. Just chunk it up until we have processed officially all of my mushrooms, and I'll show you exactly how I want you guys to be cooking it, okay? So just chop it up process it, get it done. Never had a hot pot? Well, Jack, I highly recommend it. The only thing is, I will say, I'm not crazy about all-you-can-eat hot pot. And in general, I'm not actually crazy about all-you-can-eat models. Because I find that oftentimes you're like always like, oh, I need to get the most value for my buck. I have to get the most amount of meat possible. I have to eat until I'm sick. I really, really don't like the all-you-can-eat experience. Oftentimes, hot pot is an all-you-can-eat experience to sell people this idea of something being valuable, right? So I wouldn't do that. I would try to find a hot pot place that isn't all you can eat, where you would just buy different like sets of meat and just do that instead. But guys, if you haven't had hot pot, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a very, very nice way to go out and get some food with people. It's communal. You guys get to cook together. You guys get to eat together. It's all really lovely. Okay, so a bunch of my lovely shiitake mushrooms, guys. All that we did, again, we just chopped them into the bite-sized pieces. Chef, can I rage for a second? Well, Jack, it depends about what. It depends what you got in mind for us. So my answer is maybe. And we'll just be scooping it, once again, using my bench scraper. But ideally, guys, the beauty of mushrooms is that they're all, for the most part, fairly interchangeable, okay? You can kind of just do whatever you want with this. What would also be really nice to do some like king oyster mushrooms, and then to get some dried shiitake mushrooms. Dried shiitake mushrooms are used all the time in Chinese food as well, just because of how concentrated they are, because of how much oomph they have. Okay, next I have this lovely Serrano chili. And again, everybody, is it traditional to use Serrano chilies in Chinese food? Is it traditional to use this? The answer is no, not at all. But you know what? At the end of the day, that's okay. Because spicy chilies, for the most part, are fairly interchangeable. Okay? So you don't have to be super 100% authentic. You don't have to get the exact kind of chili. We're still going to be including it. We're going to be using it because that's what I already have at home. And that's what it means to truly cook at home. Everybody, I want to hear an ICF chef. You have to first and foremost use what you have. Please and thank you. So I'm going to keep all the seeds in because I want all of that heat. I want all of that spice inside of my mushrooms and tofu. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this bad boy, and I'm thinking I want like a nice thin slice on this because I don't want to like end up with massive, massive chunks that you just bite into. So just taking it and slicing it into beautiful little rounds, my friends. Okay, so just taking it and slicing it and slicing and slicing it all the way through, getting it done, making it happen. Right, and as always, we're using the full length of the knife. We're slicing all the way through. Okay, I forgot to put on gloves, again, for maybe the 30 millionth time. So everybody, if I suffer later, please forgive me. Okay? Yeah, not even a good cut. It was $35. Yeah, Jack, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, especially the food prices in Europe, depending where you are, it's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit rough. So, everybody, my lovely Serrano chilies, got them nicely and beautifully all sliced up, and that is going to get cooked alongside my mushrooms. It's going to provide a really, really delicious heat into the mixture, and these mushrooms are going to be meaty, and they're going to be juicy, and they're going to be exactly what I want them to be later on. So, whole bunch of shiitake mushrooms, one Serrano chili nicely sliced up. I can go ahead and put that behind me. Okay. Next, everybody, another one of my inspirations for today was that I have a bunch of scallions just sort of sitting and hanging out in my fridge, okay? The biggest part of home cooking philosophy that I want to teach you guys over and over again, okay, is that the best way to cook is a compromise between what you want and what you have. The thing that I don't like about the modern cooking approach, which is somebody's in their early 20s, they want to go ahead and make something, and they think of a dish that they get all the time as takeout, and they buy a bunch of ingredients for it, and they don't use those ingredients again. I want to get you guys into the habit of first looking at what you have, thinking about how to use it up, instead of always necessarily buying new things that you don't always need. Okay, so I have some scallion whites, I have my scallion greens, and as always, I'm just gonna keep on cleaning as I'm cooking, just to make sure that I have no waste, that I have no clutter, that I have nothing gathering up and piling up behind me. Okay, so I have my scallion whites and I have my scallion greens. Some of this is going to be used towards a seasoned soy sauce. Some of this is just going to be used for garnish, and then some of this is going to be used for the fish as well. So let's go ahead and delegate. And everybody, as you already know, you can't ever have too many scallions. If anybody's telling you that you can have too many scallions, they're lying to you. Okay, I love, love, love scallions to death. And so we're going to be using these green parts because of how beautiful they are, because of how much they curl up. That's mostly going to be the garnish for the fish today. And the scallion whites, I'm thinking I'm only really going to need one of these guys for my seasoned soy sauce, because I'm not going to make a whole bunch of seasoned soy sauce. So let's just go ahead and process that now. Okay, I'll go ahead and take this nice long guy. And everybody, I'm looking for a very nice fine mince here. The goal of this scallion is to basically melt into the seasoned soy sauce and to provide a lot of flavor. The goal of the scallion is not for it to be in big pieces. The smaller that you cut it, the more that it's going to soften, the more that it's going to impart and essentially dissolve all of its flavors into the sauce. So, one lovely scallion white. I'm just going to go ahead and take it. I'm going to slice it in half lengthwise like so. Slice it in half lengthwise. Awesome. And then I'll just be taking it, cutting it into little sticks like so, these lovely little batons. Okay, and now we'll be going through everybody. And again, I'm looking for a very, very fine mince here. I'm looking for these to be paper thin pieces because again, I want them to essentially dissolve into the sauce for today. Okay, so let's go ahead and just keep it going, my friends. Just process it up a little bit. Process it, process it, process it. Get it going until all of that scallion white is nice and finely diced. And we'll go ahead and transfer that over to a little bowl after. Okay, 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 okay. Something like that I think will be perfect. Awesome. And I think the other two scallion whites that I have, I think all I'm going to do with them is just mix them into the mushroom tofu that we're going to be making, just because it'll be like a really, really nice extra allium bite to have in all of that, okay? So all of my scallions, guys, nicely and beautifully finely minced. I'm going to go ahead and scoop it up now and put it into this little condiment cup that I have here, and we'll go ahead and set that bad boy aside. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? Okay. But yeah, buying red meat nowadays, it is so expensive. It is absolutely a choice. I know what you mean, Jack. It is a bit of a headache, to say the least. Okay, so these scallions, my friends, these guys, I want to go ahead and just chop them up roughly, just so that I can go ahead and get them mixed in with my tofu and my mushrooms later on. So I'm going to be cutting them on a nice little angle, a nice little bias, just so that they have a little bit more surface area. And I'm not looking for pieces that are too thin, because if they're too thin, they're just going to end up overcooking, falling apart, and they'll get lost. The idea of these scallions that I have envisioned is I want them to get added towards the end of the cooking process. Okay, I want them to be added towards the end. We were getting spammed in the Discord. Whoa, hold on a second. I see. Okay. Hold on. Thank you for the heads up, Jack. I'll go ahead and see if I can take care of that really quickly. Sorry about that. I don't know if I have a moderator active at the moment, although that would be really, really nice. I see. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed in just a second. I don't really know if I have any moderators active at the moment. I'm actually going to go ahead and DM somebody and take care of that really, really quickly. Everybody, I'm so sorry about this. This is just going to take 1 second. Oh, we got it? Okay, I think it's all taken care of. Everybody, I'm so sorry about that. I really, really apologize for anybody that had to see that. I thought that we had the Discord permissions already all locked in and stuff, and I thought that we would be okay, but I guess not for now. So that's okay, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and just keep on proceeding with the process. I apologize for anybody that had to see that. Let's just go ahead and keep moving on. Okay, so everybody, here are my scallion whites. This is going to be used for the mushrooms and tofu later on. I'm just going to go ahead and set that aside into my cute little condiment bowl. And then the rest of these scallions, everybody, this is going to be used towards the fish itself, and it's also going to be used as a bit of a garnish as well, okay? We'll see if we can get some like really, really beautiful curly scallions, but if not, that's okay too. So I have all of these green scallions. For the fish itself, honestly, we could probably just end up doing all of it, okay? So everybody, all that I'm really looking for is I'm going to try and get really, really beautiful, super, super thin pieces, because the goal is for these scallions to really curl up once we pour it in like that super, super hot oil on top of it, okay? So the key, everybody, once again, paper thin strips of scallion. So we're going to be cutting it on a super aggressive bias. Everybody, I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please and thank you. Really, really aggressive bias. And we're going paper thin. I basically want this like scallion shrapnel, okay? You guys can see how thin it is. You can already see that it's almost curling up on itself, okay? And this is what it's going to go towards the fish, okay? There you go. Just trim that up a little bit, get that processed, everybody, and let's just go ahead and keep on going through it. Also, Samim, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Okay, just keep going through, keep on trimming up all of these different scallions. And the reason, again, why I'm cutting it on such an aggressive bias is mostly for the presentation, right? It's really, really nice when scallions, they get like that much surface area and they curl up and they puff up almost. It just sits really, really beautifully on a plate. Okay, so let's keep on going. Let's keep on doing this. Let's keep on getting all of it done, my friends. Nice paper thin strips of scallion. The thinner, the better in this case. Nice long slices. Is there a difference if you pull or push the knife? Jack, that is an amazing question, and actually I have a very, very good answer for you. And so we have a little bit of different knife philosophy depending on who is teaching you from what school of thought. So Jack is asking me specifically, is it better to pull the knife or is it better to push the knife? And so I'm actually a really huge advocate of pulling the knife. And I'm going to explain to all of you why. So everybody, take this chef's knife for a second, okay? This is clearly the thicker end and this is the thinner end. If you were to push it, look what happens, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a demonstration. Let's say we start at the tip and we push, and at the base. It's much more likely to stick at the base. But the beauty of pulling it instead, because we're going from thick to thin, is that it doesn't actually stick nearly as much to the blade itself. And this idea of pulling the knife instead of pushing it, this is something that you typically see a lot with Japanese chefs, right? This is something that you see very, very sort of hammered in like a lot of like Japanese fine dining and a lot of Japanese like sushi chefs as well, okay? Because again, by pulling it, and it really doesn't matter for something like a scallion, but by pulling it, my friends, we really, really prevent it from sticking to the knife. So yes, Jack, there is absolutely a difference, and I'm a big pulling advocate. And so, a lot of people, they get brought up sort of pushing, and I just think it's actually a suboptimal method. I think it's suboptimal, and it doesn't have to be that way. Okay? So, take it, everybody, and we gotta keep on slicing. Keep slicing, get all of it done. Keep it slicing. It's all about push and pull. That's right, Dolingo. And I know this is a lot of scallions that we have to get through. We're being very, very slow about it because, again, I just want to take really, really good caution to make sure that they're all coming out the way that I want them to. Okay? And keep going, everybody. Keep going. Nice, thin, paper thin, beautiful slices of scallion. Keep going. All the way through. Lovely. Until we are left with this little pile of perfectly sliced scallions, my friends. And you can never have too many scallions. I love scallions. They have to be up there as my favorite allium altogether. They have a lot of oomph to them, right? They have a little bit of spice to them, right? Just like that natural, like allium-y pungency. Also, Dosky, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you. Dosky, we did unfortunately have something happen in the Discord. If it happens again, would you be able to help me out? I do believe I have you set as a moderator for the Discord. I should get a couple more Discord mods though, at some point or another. But that's okay. Don't have to figure that out right now. Okay, everybody, going through the last of it now. Getting it through, getting it all processed, getting it all done, and we're ready to go for today. So, everybody, my scallion component for the steamed fish, for my lovely garnish today, it is all done. It's all ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and just transfer that over to a separate little plate, and we can go ahead and continue with the rest of the prep for today. And I guess we can also do a recap session of all the different things that that's us, hi, all the different things that we have already accomplished thus far. Okay? So everybody, I have these lovely long scallion greens that are going to go towards the steamed fish. I have some of these lovely serrano chilies. The serrano, why am I using it? Because I already had it. This is going to be going towards the braised mushrooms and tofu. I have this scallion white. This is going to be for my seasoned soy sauce. And then I have some more scallion whites that will be towards the mushrooms and tofu. And then everybody, we also have this lovely pile of some chopped up shiitakes, because I love shiitakes. They're so juicy, they're so delicious. This is probably one of my favorite mushrooms of all time. They're so accessible, they're so affordable, and they have so much flavor. Guys, there is so much to the mushroom world that's not just a portobello and a cremini and a white button mushrooms. Those guys, they all get so boring. They all get so boring after a while, okay? And I just love highlighting shiitake mushrooms any chance that I possibly can get. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and begin tackling some of these cilantro for today. So today, we're actually going to be using some of our cilantro stems because we're going to be infusing it inside of our seasoned soy sauce. Okay, the leaves themselves, they will go towards what exactly? They'll be going towards, you know, I want to have some cilantro leaves inside of my mushrooms and tofu. And then this is also going to be specifically used as my garnish for the fish as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a nice little bundle of cilantro, everybody. Let's go ahead and get that ready to go. And so I'm actually going to be breaking some tradition. I'm going to be breaking some convention here. And I'm going to teach you guys why. So, oftentimes, when you get steamed fish, when you get a traditional Cantonese style steamed fish, what do you end up with? You get a bunch of cilantro stems. Okay, like they do the whole cilantros, stems and all, alongside the fish itself. And that means that these cilantro stems, like they've already infused their flavor, but then you have to pick it out and then you have to throw it out. I think that method is a little bit inefficient, it's a little bit wasteful, and it's cumbersome to eat. One of my fundamental cooking philosophies, everybody, that I say over and over again, is that everything on a plate must be edible or functional. Okay, so whenever I can, I try to take bones off of a chicken. Whenever I can, I try to take the stems off of herbs. And in this case today, we will be repurposing my cilantro stems towards, of course, the seasoned soy sauce. We'll be chopping up the stems and adding it in to fry alongside the scallions and the ginger and the garlic. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, everybody, and just pick up these leaves. If anybody has any questions for me, please feel free to ask me. But yeah, so again, is it the most traditional and the most authentic way to do it by serving it, you know, with like the leaves off of the stems? No. But everybody, my goal is I want to innovate on things. I want to be able to improve them. I want to give people a very delicious, very easy eating experience. I don't want to just include things for the sake of being authentic or for the sake of, you know, aesthetics. Everything that I put onto the plate, first and foremost, has to serve a function. I don't like garnishes that are difficult to eat, right? For example, I went out to an Italian restaurant that I really loved as a kid, right? And there was a garnish of just like a whole basil leaf with like few separate leaves attached by the stem in the middle of some meatballs. To me, that is so inconvenient and it does absolutely nothing. It does nothing for me. You have to go ahead, you have to pick it out, and then what do? You throw it out? Do you try to bite like whole chunks of basil off of the stem? You intended to just sort of look at it, think about how pretty it is, and then never again. So guys, I really dislike garnishes that aren't practical. I like garnishes that are there on the plate for a reason. I like garnishes that you can eat. I will never ever include something purely for the aroma or purely for the visual effect, and that is the thing that I'm trying to impart onto all of you as well. That is one of my core things that I would like to teach you guys. Okay, so going ahead and just processing up all of my cilantro stems, everybody. And again, this will just be chopped up and fried and added into my gorgeous seasoned soy sauce as well. Actually, before we do this, before we finish doing this, everybody, let's go ahead and give the mushrooms a bit of a head start. So, on my stove at the moment, I have my lovely Mauvier pan. We also changed up the camera angle so that you guys can see a little bit better. I think you guys might enjoy this camera angle more. Tell me what you guys think about it, and then we can make some adjustments in the future. So, we are going to be doing the wet mushroom cooking method, okay? And so this is something that I really want to talk to you guys about. Okay, so oftentimes, I have a question for you. How many times have you experienced sautéing mushrooms? You take mushrooms, you put them into some oil, and then all of a sudden, the mushrooms, they soak up the oil. It's no longer sautéing, and if anything, it seems like it's bubbling in its own liquid. How many times has that happened to all of you guys? I'm curious. Okay, every single time, right? And so, let me explain to you why that happens. the way that you need to consider things like mushrooms, and it's also very, very similar to eggplants, okay, is that they're almost sponge-like. Mushrooms are essentially, you can think about it as protein with a lot of gaps of air inside of it, and in those gaps of air is held a lot of liquid. So here's what happens, my friends. You take mushrooms, you heat them up, it almost scrunches them up, it pushes out the liquid, and then mushrooms, they want to go ahead and reabsorb whatever is around them. It is completely indiscriminate of whether or not that liquid around them is oil or water. And so, instead of wasting oil on them, instead of ending up with a bunch of greasy mushrooms, what I would much rather end up doing is doing the wet mushroom cooking method, which is you start them out in some water, you boil them to death first, you collapse the mushrooms, then you evaporate the liquid, and only then do you add fat. That way, the mushrooms, they don't soak up any excess liquid, okay? They don't soak up any extra oil so that you don't have to keep on adding more to continue to saute it. They get perfectly cooked, perfectly plump, and they're still able to saute beautifully. So we'll be doing the wet mushroom cooking method. I did just realize that we have a couple more things to prep before we do that. So let's just go ahead and keep on doing all of my lovely cilantro, okay? Just keep on plucking, keep on plucking, keep on getting it done, everybody. How's the teaching job going? It's been good. I had to call off sick on Saturday. Like, my classes have changed to only Saturdays for now while I'm waiting for some new students. So I had to call off sick on Saturday, so I wasn't able to do it for some time, but otherwise it's been good. So what is my stand on deep fried mushrooms? Yeah, Jack, I'll actually answer this question for you. So I actually don't really love deep fried mushrooms. The few times I've had deep fried mushrooms, they were from Zaxby's, right? Zaxby's would sell these deep fried mushrooms. And honestly, I'm not crazy about it. Oftentimes what happens is the mushrooms, they get sort of waterlogged, right? Let's say these are breaded mushrooms. They release a bunch of water inside, and then when you bite into them, it's just kind of wet. That's been my experience. Right, so yeah, you said that it has too much moisture for it. I completely agree with you, G-Spent Gaming. That has been my experience with any time I've had a deep fried mushroom, tempura, or the aforementioned Zaxby's fried mushroom. I think the only way to do a properly fried mushroom, in my mind, theory crafting, okay, would be to first pre-cook the mushroom to make sure that it doesn't have any of that spongy texture to it, okay? Pre-cook it either by blanching it or boiling it or sautéing it or something, and then breading it and then frying it. I think that would be the ideal method, and that might yield you some really, really good results. The mushroom would still be juicy, but it wouldn't be profoundly wet or anything, okay? So, everybody, I have here all of my lovely cilantro. And again, I'm just making sure that my stems will not be going into the final product at all for today. Okay, so I have all of these cilantro leaves, I have these stems, and everybody will just be chopping up the stems. We'll be getting little tiny pieces out of it because again, the goal is for these cilantro stems to infuse into the seasoned soy sauce and to provide some really beautiful flavor, okay? So, cilantro stems, just gonna go ahead and take them and give them a super, super thin slice all the way through, everybody, okay? Just process them, get them done, nice and easy. And this is so much less wasteful. Instead of us just throwing out the stems, we're making the most out of it. I'm taking some inspiration from Lucas Sin's seasoned soy sauce. That's a really, really lovely chef who he is so knowledgeable about, especially Hong Kong food, especially about Chinese food. He knows so much. So if you guys have never watched anything from Lucas Sin, you're absolutely making a mistake. He can tell you so much about it, okay? So, I'm using his method, right, which is essentially just going to be some cilantro fried in some oil before we add the rest of the seasoned soy sauce ingredients. Okay? So just making sure, again, everything is nicely and properly finely diced, everybody. Getting that done. And again, it's fine if you still have a couple of chunks left in there because it's all going to get strained out anyways. The seasoned soy sauce, all of these little chunks, the only goal is to flavor it, everybody. The goal, the intention is not for you to be able to bite into them, okay? Chef, what was something that you loved eating / drinking all the time as a kid? Jack, that's a good question. I feel like all the things that I liked to eat as a kid, I still do love, with one exception. For whatever reason, when I was a kid, I really fixated on burger buns with ketchup. Yeah, just straight up as is. I was a bit of a picky eater when I was really young, and so in school lunches, whenever we'd get a school lunch, and it would be any kind of sandwich or a burger, I would throw out the inside. I would only eat the bread with ketchup. I ate a lot of that. I ate a lot of bread and ketchup as a kid. I don't think I'm particularly inclined to do so now, but it was like a very, very generous amount of ketchup too. Okay, so everybody, these are my cilantro stems for the seasoned soy sauce. This is my scallion for the seasoned soy sauce. And then we also have all of these lovely cilantro leaves. The cilantro leaves themselves, we just need to give them a very, very gentle slice through. Okay, we don't need to do anything crazy. We don't need to chop them into really, really fine mince or anything. This is going to be used both as garnish, and then it's also going to be used towards the mushrooms and tofu. Okay, so guys, we have a really chill stream. We don't have anything too complex, anything too technical to do today. I'm just curious to see how viable is doing this dish at home. This is a dish that I've only really gone out for, right? I've only gone out to restaurants for, which I'm still going to end up doing. It's just so expensive, especially in New York. Getting a whole steamed fish of any remote quality whatsoever of anybody, it is, trust me, not cheap at all. Like minimum like $30 a person kind of thing. And so I remember I went out once with my lovely friend Vixen. Vixen and I, we went out, who I'll be living with, but Vixen and I, we went out for this lovely like steamed fish place, and it was amazing, guys. It was like covered in cilantro and chilies, and it was so flavorful, and it was so supple and so tender. So I'm taking my cilantro, I'm just gently, gently slicing it up, everybody. Okay, there you go. That should be perfect for my uses today, everybody. Okay, and I'm just gonna go ahead and set that behind me onto a separate little plate. Okay, take it, scoop it up, put that onto a plate, and we're not gonna need that bad boy for quite some time. Only to garnish, only to finish some dishes. Okay, and now we have to do the rest of the aromatics, everybody, for the seasoned soy sauce, which is gonna be, of course, because it's gonna be Chinese food, we have some ginger and we have some garlic. The ginger and the garlic, we just gotta be chopping up into a little fine cube. In the case of the garlic, more so be put through a garlic press. So let's go ahead and get that prepped and get that going, everybody. So I'm gonna just go ahead and slice off a little chunk of ginger for this. And I do mean a little bit. I don't want the ginger to become an overpowering element, okay? The goal of the ginger is to purely, gently, and I do mean gently, everybody. Can I please hear a yes, chef? The goal of the ginger is just to gently flavor up the soy sauce, okay? And for this, I'm actually gonna put on some gloves because, oh, actually, this piece is all dried off. I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna put on some gloves, gonna tie up my hair. Okay, the goal of the ginger is just to infuse into the soy sauce. Okay, it's just gonna be a gentle, it's gonna be a really, really light cook, really, really easy. So, gonna go ahead and glove on up, everybody. Oof. There we go, all gloved up. Thank you very much. And now, let's go ahead and proceed with Mr. Ginger. So, everybody, we need ginger in a bunch of components for today. We're going to need a little bit going into the mushrooms and tofu. We're going to need a little bit going into the actual process of steaming the fish, which we'll just get some whole ginger slices for, and then we'll also need some for the seasoned soy sauce. So let's go ahead and get all of that done now. I'm gonna use roughly, let's say this chunk right here, this super, super small chunk for the seasoned soy sauce. This little chunk here is going to be for, this little chunk is going to be for the tofu and mushrooms. And then we're also just going to really, really, really thinly slice just a few slices of ginger. This one we can just keep the skin on, okay? And this is just going to steam with my fish. Super, super thin slices. It's going to steam, it's gonna infuse, and then we'll go ahead and get rid of it, okay? So, these bad boys are all done. This is exactly how I want them for my fish, everybody. This ginger I'm gonna go ahead and set aside, put that away into the fridge. And then let's go ahead and get prepping with the rest of these guys. I'm gonna do the let it spoon method to peel my ginger skin off. The ginger skin's a little dry, it's a little unpleasant. Using a spoon, I've realized, is actually quite nice instead of using a knife, because you can't really cut yourself with it because you're oftentimes scraping towards you. Also, ooh, is that true? Welcome on in, Kiki Knox. Lovely to have you. Hello, hello, hello. Is this another Valshred? What's happening? Okay, so I'm going ahead, I'm peeling up these 2 chunks of ginger, and then we'll go ahead and do a recap session for everybody and anybody that might be coming in. Okay, so taking it and peeling it and peeling it and peeling it and peeling it. Hello, Annie. Welcome on in. Hello to VCC TV. It's lovely to have you. Everybody, welcome to the new channel. Howdy, howdy. It is good to have all of you. Hello to Deep Sea Fission. Hello to Rocketman TV. Hi. It's good to have all of you. Everybody, you know what we're doing today? We're doing a lovely Cantonese style steamed fish. Everybody that is now joining, I already see some yes chefs. I'm going to want to see some more. This is a really, really beautiful dish. We're not doing it with a whole fish today. And so after I'm done prepping this ginger, we'll do a bit of a recap session and talk about what else we have to do. So we're also doing a mushroom and tofu braise. We're also doing a seasoned soy sauce. And for both of these, I want to go ahead and get these guys really, really, really finely minced. Okay, so this little ginger right here, all I'm going to do is just take it. Also, Juzol, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you, that's very sweet of you. I'm going to go ahead, thinly slice it, everybody. Super, super thinly, lovely. Also, thank you so much to, I don't know who that was that just had the Prime sub. Thank you to Deep Sea Fission for the sub. Also, thank you to Sapphic for the sub as well. Thank you guys, I really, really appreciate it. Wow, we have a lot of notifs right now. I think my Twitch is lagging a little bit. It's a little bit behind. Okay, so everybody, we have this lovely thinly sliced ginger, and all that I'm going to do is just chunk it up. This is all gonna get strained out anyways. Okay, and its only purpose is just to season and flavor up the seasoned soy sauce. It's gonna get fried, it's gonna get infused, and in it goes with all of my scallion whites. Okay, then we have this chunk of ginger, everybody, which is going to go towards the tofu and the mushrooms. This guy, I want it to be really, really finely sliced. I want it to be a super, super fine dice. I don't want any chunks of ginger inside of my final product. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take it and just smack it down. Also, Dosky, thank you so much for the gifted subs. Thank you. I'm just going to try my best to get this thing nice and flattened. But yes, everybody, my inspiration for today, I had a bunch of scallions. I had a bunch of cilantro stems as well that I wanted to get rid of. And so, this is what I'm using it for today. I had a bunch of cilantro, I had a bunch of scallions, and we're doing this lovely steamed tilapia, okay? So everybody, taking this ginger, slicing it up nice and thin. Also, Helen Queen, welcome on in. There is nothing here that's complicated. I promise you, everything that's here today is going to be really, really gentle. It's going to be really, really easy to do. Okay? So there is nothing here that is complicated at all. I can assure you of that. This is all home cooking. Everything that I'm teaching you guys is all home food. I want to teach you guys how to cook at home. I want to teach you guys how to get comfortable at cooking at home. And I want to teach you all how to understand food. So if you have any questions about why we're doing things, please feel free to go ahead and ask me. So taking this ginger, everybody, and I'm just going to keep on mincing it a few more times all the way through. There you go. And one last time for good measure. And this ginger is once again going to be used towards my tofu and my mushrooms, which will be going ahead and set aside onto a different little condiment cup. By the way, guys, if you don't own little tiny condiment cups, you're 100% missing out. So, everybody, welcome on in. It is good to have all of you. It is good to see all of you. Everybody that's now just joined us, I want to hear your nice Kuzana, yes, chef. I want to make sure that I have your full most attention. Also, I'm using gloves because ginger can be quite abrasive on the hands for somebody with eczema. I have eczema, and so I just really want to protect my dainty little delicate hands. So hi. It's good to have all of you. Everybody, we're going to be doing a dish today that I love to death, that I love going out to eat for, that I've never done myself at home. We're going to be doing a Cantonese style steamed fish. And it's really, really delicious to go out for it, except the only problem with it is incredibly expensive, at least in the United States. You typically get this whole beautiful steamed fish, typically something like a red snapper, although it can be done with any kind of white flesh fishes. Okay? So it's a whole steamed fish usually, and then you get like this boiling oil that's poured on top of it. It's very gently flavored with ginger and scallions, sometimes chilies as well. And in my case, we'll be doing a custom seasoned soy sauce. So a seasoned soy sauce has a little bit of sugar in it, it has some spices in it, it has the ginger, garlic, scallion, and cilantro in it, and that's going to provide so much flavor. Alongside that, we'll be doing a braised tofu and mushroom, which is gonna have ginger and garlic and some Shaoxing wine, and it's gonna be really delicious and tasty as well. So at the moment, what have we accomplished so far, everybody? We're just currently in the prep phase at the moment. Okay, we're in the prep phase. This is a collection of some ginger and some scallion whites. This is for my seasoned soy sauce. This is going to be used for the tofu and mushroom. This is also going to be used for the seasoned soy sauce, okay? These little slices of ginger, the fish is going to steam with it. The fish is going to really, really gently steam with it, and we're just going to put it on and then take it off, okay? So I'm going to take all of this good stuff and put it onto this nice little plate behind me, okay? Take it right here, just stack it up, get all of this ready to go for later on once we need it. Okay? And then everybody, we're going to go ahead and prep some garlic as well while we have a second of time. So garlic. As you all may know, I cannot stand chopping garlic by hand. Garlic is sticky. Garlic is uncomfortable to work with. Garlic sticks to your cutting board, garlic sticks to your knife, and it makes a really, really big mess everywhere. So instead of doing that, instead of bothering with all of that, the biggest piece of kitchen equipment that I'm going to keep on shilling for all of you guys, again and again and again, is a garlic press. Everybody should invest in a garlic press. There is this very contemporary hatred of, oh, unitaskers are bad. If this tool is only good for one thing, then it shouldn't be in your kitchen. Guys, if you're cooking from any cuisine whatsoever, you always are cooking with loads of garlic. Okay? When you have a garlic press, it just processes it. It makes your life so much easier. Everybody should go ahead and invest in one. We're going to start off by first just squishing it to just take the skin of the garlic off. Right? This separates the skin, and you can see how easily that skin now just plucks off, at least in theory. You can see how easily it plucks off now that we've just given the garlic a little squish. Okay? Nice and easy all the way through. And let's go ahead and repeat that with every single one of those. Also, Paul D, hello, it's been forever. Welcome on in. Annie, thank you so much for the gifted bits. Happy Pride to you as well. Okay, so I'm just taking it and I'm just going to keep on squishing every single garlic clove. This is a foolproof way of peeling your garlic. Okay, it's easy, it's quick, it's convenient. And so let's just go ahead and pop each of these little guys out. Okay, pop them out, pop them out, pop them out, one by one, until we're left with just a load of fresh garlic, my friends. Okay, and the only reason why we're squishing it is purely just to get the skin off, right? And a bench scraper is a very, very nice tool for said purpose. Take it and pluck it, take it and pluck it, take it, and last but not least, everybody, take it and pluck it. There you go. That should now officially be, this one's being a little bit more stubborn than usual today, and I'm not really sure why. There's like this extra like growth inside of it that's like happening, that's causing like the skin to grow out from under it. Whoa. That's a weird garlic clove. I've not actually had something like that happen to me. Okay, and everybody, last but not least, the only other thing that we need to do for Mr. Garlic is just to go ahead and just trim those butts off. Okay, so if you see any dried off butts, if you see any dried out butts, let's just go in and process it and get them all taken care of. Ooh, had some skin stuck on there that I didn't get rid of. Okay, just take it and slice it, take it and slice it, take it and slice it. Each and every single one of them, everybody, one by one. And now let's go ahead and press the garlic. So half of this is going to go towards the mushrooms and tofu for today. Half of this is going to go towards my seasoned, well, not half. I think I'm just going to use these two big guys right here for my seasoned soy sauce. And then the rest of it is going to be for my tofu. So take it, everybody, and give it a big old squish. Take it and give it a big old squish. Or actually, oh no, this is the one that's for the tofu. I mixed up my bowls a little bit, but that's okay. Take it and squish it, everybody. Take it and squish it. And we're just using 2 cloves for the seasoned soy sauce. Okay, there you go. Push it all the way through. And this is why I love my garlic press, everybody. It's so easy to use. Everybody should own one of these. It does not matter how often you cook with garlic. Everybody needs one of these things. They're so easy to use, and they're not as difficult to clean as people think it is. You also have to have like a little brush. I always have a kitchen brush. That's how I poke out the holes, and it's great. Okay, so all of my garlic, everybody, nice and processed and ready to go for today. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? And just get that all inside. Lovely. And I believe we can actually start doing the seasoned soy sauce for today. We can go ahead and begin doing that now. All of this seems to be ready to go. Let's go ahead and do this. How come garlic sometimes has a little stem inside? So that has to do with garlic that has just been allowed to grow out. It's the same reason why onions sprout, right? So given like the right humidity and given enough time, it's just going to sprout and grow a little bit older. So I hope that answers your question. So everybody, we're going to head to the stove. We're not going to need this pot. Instead, we're going to just need this little guy right here, because this is where we will be building the seasoned soy sauce, okay? Is there any way to avoid it? Well, I got to say that, Rose, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay for it to be present. So you don't have to really sweat it. I would just say don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Okay, everybody, you're going to want to start out with a nice neutral cooking oil. Okay, specifically today, my favorite neutral cooking oil that is used all the time in Chinese cooking is peanut oil. Okay, but you can use canola, you can use vegetable oil, but I love peanut oil. I love the smoke point of peanut oil, and I just find that it has a much more pleasant taste compared to things like canola oil and vegetable oil. Okay, quite the Freudian slip. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we only need a little bit of oil, everybody. We just want this to be able to fry the aromatics. We want to fry the garlic, we want to fry the ginger, we want to fry the scallions, we want to fry the cilantro, but we don't want my seasoned soy sauce to become too oily. So I do truly mean a little bit of oil, just enough that we can cover the bottom of the pan. Okay? And in this case, you want a very, very small surface area. The smaller the saucepan, the better. Because the more space that you actually have, the more oil you need to use, the more that you need to lubricate it. The oil stops things from sticking and it stops them from burning. Everybody, can I please get a yes, chef? So, we're actually going to be starting off these aromatics in cold oil. And I'm going to explain to you why. If we start them off in hot oil, these guys are so delicate. The ginger, the garlic, the scallion, it's all so delicate that it's just going to burn in a second's time. By starting it off, in cold oil, we get to gently cook out the liquid out of it. We get to gently fry the aromatics without risking burning it. So that is why we're starting out with cold oil today, although typically in cooking that is a no-no. But when you're frying shallots, when you're frying garlic, when you're frying ginger, it is typically speaking best to start out in some cold oil, my friends. So in all of it goes, make sure that it's nice and submerged as much as possible, and we'll just be going ahead and taking it on a low heat, everybody. This needs to be on a low heat. Oh, hello. Hello. Thank you. I don't know why I wasn't lighting for a second. Nice low heat, everybody. Gently cook it. You do not want your aromatics to burn. Okay? And so we're not adding the cilantro immediately. The cilantro is a little bit more volatile. The cilantro is a little bit wetter. The order of operations is as follows. First, we fry the garlic, ginger, and scallion whites. Then we add the cilantro. Then we add dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, a little bit of water, some rock sugar, okay, and then some sesame oil. So sorry, chef, are we doing this for just a couple of minutes? That's right, Serena. We're just looking for this to start frying. We want this to start getting slightly golden, and then we'll be killing the heat on it, okay? So this is beginning to go. I'm going to go ahead and get a little toasting plate out and ready to go. And so I'm going to talk about all the different sauces that we'll be using for the seasoned soy sauce again. So why both soy sauce types? That's a really good question. By blending dark soy sauce and light soy sauce, that's how you kind of get your average amount of oomph. Otherwise, just dark soy sauce is a little too intense. Just light soy sauce is a little too, it's a little too watery. So the two of them together, that'll get you a little bit more of a standard soy sauce blend. And then you would just typically use dark soy sauce for color, although I will say, in my experience, it is noticeably more oomph, right? It has a little bit more of that fermented taste to it. So all I'm doing is we're just gently stirring all of this up, okay? And this also gives me another nice excuse to use some rock sugar. You could use any kind of sweetness that you would like. You could use any kind of sugar that you would like. I'm using rock sugar because I already have some, and this is used all the time in Chinese and Vietnamese cooking, and it has some more flavor other than basic white sugar, okay? Would this dish work with teriyaki sauce? I'm gonna say no. Even though this is basically like a teriyaki sauce, the teriyaki sauce that you're thinking of, right, like that gloopy, super, super sweet one, the reason why I would say no is because that would be too intense for the fish. Teriyaki sauce is like something that you would typically cook with and not try to garnish like a very, very basic like white flesh fish with, okay? So everybody, we have begun the process of just gently, gently on a low heat, frying up all of my lovely aromatics. Okay, it's just frying, it's just going, it's going, it's going. Awesome. And it's going to turn aromatic and delicious. So once again, just some garlic, just some ginger, just some scallion whites, gently and slowly cooking. Also, Jack, you asked me what is my stance on lemonade. Well, I don't really drink sweet beverages as it is. I think lemonade is tasty, though. I don't think I've ever gone out of my way to make a lemonade, at least in recent time. So everybody, you can see that it's gently sizzling now, but do not stop mixing. Absolutely do not stop mixing. I'm going to be switching over to this wooden paddle that I have instead. It really, really benefits you, by the way, to have a really, really tiny wooden spoon like this. It's a lovely device to have, especially in times like these. Gentle, gentle cooking, everybody. Because if your heat is too high, you will scorch your garlic, you will scorch your scallions, and make sure nothing, and absolutely nothing, is stuck to the sides of that pan. Okay, so once again, garlic, ginger, scallion, cilantro, dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, sesame oil, a little bit of Shaoxing wine, and then some rock sugar as well. Keeping it really, really simple, but really delicious. Alternatively, you could also just buy a pre-made seasoned soy sauce. They're typically sold as a seasoned soy sauce or sold as something like a soy sauce for fish. Right? But making it yourself, everybody, you have a lot of custom control over the flavors that you want inside of it. You get to really dictate what you get to do with it, okay? And because I already had cilantro stems, because I already had all these different ingredients, that's why I'm making it this way. Okay, so gently, gently frying up all of my aromatics, everybody. Nice low heat, making sure nothing is stuck to the sides of my pan until everything is nice and almost golden. Okay? Does anybody have any more questions for me in the meantime? I'm just gonna go ahead and take this little guy, put that back over here. Again, we're continuously mixing. We're frying the aromatics, everybody. We're infusing the oil with them. Okay, they're becoming nice and toasted, nice and fragrant, because otherwise, if it was just boiled, it wouldn't have this depth of flavor that we're developing. Okay? So, gently, gently frying, keep it going, and now, this is the stage where I'm adding the cilantro. We didn't add the cilantro stems in the beginning, because otherwise it would overcook, and we would vaporize all of the aroma that it has. Okay? So take it and mix it through. Take it and mix it through, everybody, and now this whole concoction is becoming really aromatic and really, really delicious. What's your favorite comfy childhood meal to eat or make? Darby Doll, really good question. But I'll answer that in a second, because first, I have a first-time watcher. What's your tag? Melina Malt, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. I'm entirely self-taught. I've been cooking for 14 years. I've been cooking since I was 7 years old. I'm 21 now. And so I've been cooking for basically my whole life, I have to say. Yeah, and I'm entirely self-taught. I consider myself amateur professional. And my goal of being on the show is to answer people's cooking questions. My goal is to teach people how to cook at home. So my cilantro has fried, everybody. We are now going in with some Shaoxing wine. Okay? A little bit of Shaoxing wine goes directly in. Nice little glug of that, but not too much. And this is going to effectively stop the frying process. Once we've introduced moisture, my aromatics no longer have a risk of burning. How much do you cook to last a week? So, here on Queen, really good question. I typically cook 3 times a week because that's the amount of times that we do the cooking streams. And so 3 times a week, the food lasts me for the entirety of the week, and I oftentimes have a lot left over as well. Okay, so everybody, Shaoxing wine goes in, and we're not measuring anything. We're going purely by vibes here, okay? Why do we need sugar for the dish? It's because it just really balances out the sauce so that it's not just salty all the way through. So that arose, there is a reasonable substitute if you can't have cilantro, which is an herb called culantro. I think it's also called sawtooth cilantro, if I'm not mistaken, but culantro has a similar flavor, not identical, and it holds up to cooking better. So that would be my recommendation for you. Everybody, light soy sauce going in. I'm not really measuring the amount that I'm using here after all. We're just going to add it, simmer it, and taste it, and then adjust purely on vibes. So culantro is spelled exactly the same as cilantro, except with a U. Okay, so C-U-L-A-N-T-R-O. So some dark soy sauce going in as well, everybody. Next, really, really essential spice to have, I think, some nice white pepper. White pepper and black pepper, not interchangeable. White pepper is super fragrant, white pepper is super aromatic. So yeah, culantro, to my understanding, does avoid the cilantro soap thing. Absolutely, hence my recommendation. Okay, so everybody, dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, Shaoxing wine, and now a little dust of white pepper. And I do mean a little bit. You can really, really easily overdo it with the white pepper. It can easily become way too aromatic. It can easily become too intense. So less is more when it comes to white pepper, okay? It's not particularly spicy. It's just very, very deliciously pungent, I feel like is the best way to put it, right? But that can also easily become a problem later on. Okay, so now we're just gonna be gently simmering down the sauce. We'll add in some sesame oil, taste it as well. And last but not least, everybody, I did forget, we're going to be doing one little tiny chunk of some rock sugar going inside. And again, why am I using rock sugar? Because I already have it, and it's quite traditional in both Chinese and Vietnamese cooking to use it. It has a little bit more flavor than plain white refined sugar, right? This rock sugar, it has the real like sugarcane flavor inside of it. So I'm looking to just go ahead and get a little lump out. That's kind of difficult because they usually just come in these massive, massive rocks. So I'm gonna do this little tiny chunk of the rock sugar, and we'll just dissolve it inside. And that will be enough sweetness for today. And then last but not least, everybody, we'll be finishing it off with the sesame oil, just for that extra bit of nuttiness. And now all that we're doing, we're infusing the garlic and the ginger. And it's called rock sugar because it's just crystallized. White sugar is refined, hence why it's white, right? They take basically all of the stuff out of it that makes it taste like anything other than sweet, and it basically becomes pure sucrose. So, everybody, this sugar is now dissolved. And actually, last but not least, there is one ingredient that I did forget about, which is going to be some Chinese black vinegar, just because I want a little splash of acidity inside. The point of this soy sauce, right, the point of this seasoned soy sauce is for it to be very balanced. So, little splash, just for a little hint of acidity. And then that means that when it comes with the fish, it's going to have some sweetness, it's going to have some saltiness. Okay? Also, Godzillas, I don't drink at all, unfortunately, because I have some liver problems. And so drinking only makes me feel sick, I'm afraid. As much as I would like to do cocktail streams at one point or another, I'm afraid that that is not in the cards for me. Okay? So, everybody, this is now just gently simmering along, and we don't need to particularly reduce this or anything. We might need to add in some water just to, really dilute the flavor a little bit if it's too intense. Okay? Because the goal, again, this is supposed to gently season the fish, my friends. It's not supposed to be a big punch to the face with a lot of flavor. It's supposed to be gentle and delicate and aromatic and delicious, okay? So this is boiling, I would say, too aggressively at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and just take a little sip. Oh, guys, that's good. You're getting the cilantro, you're getting the ginger, you're getting the garlic. That is lovely. That is a very delicious seasoned soy sauce. And in fact, I think I'm going to call it. I think I'm going to call it right here. Everybody, I think that this should be all ready to go. The only thing I'm going to finish it with that doesn't actually need to cook or anything is just going to be a little splash of sesame oil. And I do mean a little splash. You don't want too much of it because, as you may know, sesame oil is very woody. It's very overpowering in too big of a quantity. Okay? So that is my seasoned soy sauce now. It's delicious. It's a little bit sweet. It's now got that nuttiness from the sesame seed oil. Okay? And now we'll go ahead and strain it out. But yes, sesame seed oil, guys, it's woody, it's intense, it's really delicious and nutty, but too much of it, and I promise you, it will spoil a dish. Okay? Chef, what's your favorite childhood comfort meal? Okay, Darby, thank you for asking again. I did forget to answer your question. My favorite childhood comfort meal? Ooh. I mean, there was a lot of dishes that I really, really loved as a kid. I would say the broth from a borscht, right? I grew up Russian. Whenever we would have a borscht, I always loved just sipping on the broth. I loved like a blended borscht. Those were usually like my favorites. Otherwise, there's this really delicious Russian pastry called syrniki. They're essentially like these little pancakes made out of farmer's cheese and some sugar and flour. And then you would serve them with sour cream and some jam. That is a dish that I grew up on. That is a dish that I love eating. So everybody, we need to go ahead and get rid of all of those chunks now. All those little bits, the ginger, the garlic, the scallion, the cilantro stems, they've all done a good job. Everybody, please say thank you to my aromatics. Well, borscht, it's the, the Eastern European, the Russian like cabbage beet soup. Okay, so take it, everybody, and just gonna go ahead and strain it all out. Strain it out, strain it out. Is it true that we love our teas sweet and sugary? Not necessarily. If anything, I feel like Russians love Turkish tea. Russians love like a very like bitter, almost like I would say like an oversteeped black tea. More than anything, but I wouldn't say that Russians like it especially sweet or anything. So everybody, this doesn't look like a lot. I know this doesn't look like a lot, but there is so much flavor contained in this little guy. This has rock sugar, this has white pepper, this has sesame oil, this has scallion, this has cilantro, garlic, and it has ginger, and this is all gonna go. It's a little bit sweet, it's a little bit salty, it's got all the aroma that you want. Guys, that is a delicious seasoned soy sauce. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just take a second to clean up my station. Just take a couple of things and set them aside. It has a lot of flavor. That is lovely. That is actually truly just lovely. Okay, because again, guys, we're cooking at home. This is a home cooking show above all else. That means we absolutely must clean as we go. Your dishwasher must be empty. Your sink must be empty. Okay? So we no longer need my rock sugar for anything else today. And yes, we always have a trash bowl when we cook. Because guys, I want you to think about it. Whenever you're going, always from your cutting board to the trash can, cutting board to the trash can, super difficult, really big waste of time. Always having a little bowl for your scraps, it gathers them up, it just makes your process in your life so much easier. So I really recommend everybody goes ahead and does that. Chef, would you cook with something with beer on stream? So Jack, that's a good question. I mean, if it calls for it, I don't think beer actually contributes that much in terms of the flavor to a dish. Whereas cooking with alcohol, wine has a very pronounced flavor. But typically beer, people say like, oh, this is chili made with beer. And you don't even really taste it. It just ends up getting lost, right? So people say that kind of as like a bit of a buzzword. More than anything, and I just feel like there's very few contexts where that's like even like justifiable, I would say. Okay, so everybody, we've completed the seasoned soy sauce for today. We did a lot of the prep that we needed to go ahead and get done. Now is going to be the time for us to work on the mushrooms and the tofu. So I need everybody to tap into this. I need everybody's full attention. I need to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. Okay, because this is where things are going to get important. So I have a question for all of my newcomers. I have a question for everybody here that came from the grid. How many times have you sauteed mushrooms and instead in 2 minutes they've soaked up all of the oil and then it seems like they're boiling in their own liquid? How many times has that happened to you? Please tell me. Okay, so there is a very archaic way, I think, of sauteing mushrooms necessarily, which is you put in some oil, you heat it up, and then you saute the mushrooms. But I'm going to tell you right now that that is a bad method, and it's inefficient, and it's not actually going to do anything for you. So here's what we do instead, everybody. We do the wet mushroom cooking method. Basically, mushrooms, you need to consider them like sponges that are oversaturated with water. As soon as you heat these guys up, they push out a lot of their liquid, and once there's liquid present, of course, it stops sauteing. And then mushrooms, after they've released the liquid, they actually then start soaking some of it back. The reason why your mushrooms turn out greasy is because they're literally absorbing the oil back from where they came from. So how do we prevent that? We prevent them from doing that by first just giving them a bit of a head start in just plain water. That is a big load of shiitake mushrooms. And all that we do, everybody, is we just give them a little bit of water as just like a, intermediary between the mushrooms and the pan so they don't stick and burn. A couple of tablespoons go in, and here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. I want all of you guys to watch this, okay? Here's what's going to happen. The mushrooms will heat up, they'll release their liquid, the water will evaporate, and then they'll soak some of it back up. I want you guys to hold me to that, because that is exactly what is going to happen when we cook up these shiitake mushrooms. So the sauteing phase will happen purely after the initial boiling phase. So all that I'm going to do, everybody, nice medium, high heat, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Take it and slap a lid on it. So that might seem counterintuitive. Why do we put a lid on it if the goal is to evaporate the liquid? Well, the steam is going to initially help to really quickly cook the mushrooms. It's going to cause the mushrooms to collapse, and then we take the lid off, and then we'll evaporate the liquid. And guys, you will see. I promise you that you will see exactly how it comes out. Okay, my mom always does that when she cooks mushrooms. Well, lovely to hear it. Sounds like your mom has been watching the cooking show and nowhere else. I'm kidding. This has been a bit of food advice that has just been around for quite some time now. On the internet, and it's something that I've really adapted into my own home routine. So I'm going to be quickly washing out the saucepan because we will need it in a little bit as well. So everybody, please bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and step off camera, step off frame for just a moment, and I promise you I will be right back. So please don't worry about me in my absence. Again, I want to make sure that I'm always like repurposing my existing pots and pans. I don't want to end up with a massive load of dishes at the end of the day. So while this pan is still fresh, everybody, while the pan is still warm, not hot, because if you put like, something cold in a hot pan, you'll shock it and you'll damage the metal over time. But once it's like cooled down enough, the best time to clean it, guys, is after it's just slightly cooled down. If you let it dry, if you let it just sit there, all of the food is just going to be stuck. It's going to be so much more difficult to clean it later on. And depending on the material, especially if it's cast iron or carbon steel, you could also end up damaging the material, everybody. So without the use of any soap whatsoever, because of the fact that we cleaned it immediately after cooking with it, we have ended up with a beautifully clean pan. The best time to clean is just about after. okay? Instead of waiting, don't leave it in the sink. Get on top of it, guys, especially when you have a little bit of downtime. Get on top of it, and I promise I will not lead you astray. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just take a couple of things and throw them into the dishwasher while we have a moment of time. And so everybody, while the mushrooms are in the collapsing stage, we can go ahead and prep the tofu. The tofu prep is gonna be really easy. The tofu prep is gonna be really simple. All that I'm really gonna do is just dice it up. Just chop it up into some chunks, something that we would want for this final braise. And everybody, I want you to take a look now. Look at what's happening with my mushrooms. Okay, they have become flooded with liquid. All of that liquid, guys, all of this liquid is the mushroom liquid that is now beginning to come out of them. We started out with just a tablespoon or two of water. The pan is getting super wet. In fact, I'm gonna just slap a lid back on it just so that you guys can see how much of a change we will observe in real time. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? We're gonna go ahead and focus on our tofu a little bit. The seasoned soy sauce is done. The last step will be doing the fish, of course. Okay, and so I have a nice little block of firm tofu here. There isn't a very specific dish that I'm sort of emulating when I'm doing this. I wanted something with mushrooms, I wanted something with tofu, and I wanted like a very nice sweet, thick soy sauce to go alongside that, okay? So, tofu, I'm going to go ahead and open up this block somehow. What video games did I grow up with? Jack, a lot of Pokemon. An aggressive amount of Pokemon. Okay, can I peel this? Is this going to peel at all? The answer is no, not in the slightest. And that's okay. So everybody, instead, we're just going to go through and we're just going to trim this up and expose our lovely block. Favorite gen? Gen 3 or Gen 5? Favorite starter? Mudkip. Where am I from? Logoaz, I am from Brooklyn, New York. I've lived here my whole life. Okay, so got this lovely block of firm tofu, my friends. Just take it and peel it up. Okay, and we're only going to roughly need about half of this block. Okay, you can tell by the music playing. That's right, I only play Pokemon Lo-Fi on the streams. Okay, this is a little bit tricky. We have to dump out the liquid. We'll come back to that in just a second. Everybody, let's come back to the mushrooms, and I want you all to see, look at the liquid. Look at the fact that it is currently boiling in its own water. This, my friends, is the reason why your mushrooms have stopped sauteing. Did we start out with that much liquid? I want to hear a nice no, chef. We started out with maybe a tablespoon or two of liquid, and now instead we have all of this lovely mushroom broth coming out. So we take this water, we boil it out, we evaporate it, and then what are we left with? A nice dry pan that will then let us saute the mushrooms. This is why we do the wet mushroom cooking method. Okay, we do the wet mushroom cooking method. We start it out in water, we release the water, we evaporate the water, and then we can get a beautiful saute. The only thing you got to keep in mind is you just want to occasionally stir it just to really make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. This is essentially a mushroom broth. It has all the little dissolved proteins. Once the water evaporates, with no more liquid to dissolve into, the proteins, if you don't stir it around and stick it back to the mushrooms, they'll just stick on the bottom of the pan, excuse me. So, medium heat at this point in time. Everybody, we're gonna go back to the tofu. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly just drain this out in the sink, just to make my life easier, so that my cutting board isn't a big wet disaster. That's what they called, never mind. Don't worry about it. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and just grab this lovely little block, but first, I wanna get some more liquid out. And again, everybody, I'm only going to be using roughly half a block of firm tofu for today. Okay, so half a block, and then the rest of it I can just go ahead and put away. Half a block, slice that in half, awesome. And then this little guy, take it, and I'm just going to go ahead and flood my container back with some liquid. And that's how you keep it nice and fresh. If you want your tofu to last as long as possible in the fridge, guys, just soak it in fresh water and change it out every few days. The same exact idea for mozzarella. The way that you keep tofu is the same way that you would for fresh cheeses, because they're both very similar products. They're both extracted coagulated proteins. Okay, so that goes into the fridge. You worry, chef? That's okay, Jack. You have nothing to worry about. Okay? So, back to the stove, everybody. You can take a look. My mushroom liquid is beginning to evaporate, and it's going to take some time. Just be patient with the process, and then we will obtain the sauteing stage, and we will beautifully saute all of my mushrooms. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the prep for my tofu. And the only thing that we need to think about really is the size of the chunks that you want. I don't want massive, massive hulking pieces of tofu, right, that are super, super thick. I'm just going to want something like this, something like this, something like this, something like this. Lovely. X and Y were the last good games. Black and white too were the last good games, I'm sorry to say. Aside from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Are there any soups that incorporate tofu outside of miso? Absolutely. So Huron Queen, that is not a bad question at all. There's plenty of different soups. Plenty of Korean stews and soups. Plenty of Chinese soups and stews, Japanese ones, and not all of them are necessarily named, right? Miso soup, it's very explicitly small, little, tiny chunks of tofu, but it's there's lots of them. I just don't think I can name any by name. Also, Crystal, welcome on in. Lovely to have you. Also, you asked me, Godzillas, you asked me, am I not going to press my tofu beforehand? The answer is no. And I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to tell you something right now. This is very much so a Western concept, and very much so not very, how do I say this? This idea of pressing tofu to make it seem more meat-like, right? It's a very, very Western thing to do. Typically, you would have sold firm tofu, soft tofu, silken tofu, and then you would buy that accordingly. This idea of pressing your tofu to get all of the excess liquid out so it becomes more chewy, this is purely when tofu is considered and treated as a meat substitute. Everybody, I do not treat or consider tofu as a meat substitute, and I feel like it is disingenuous to do so. Okay, even though it has some protein inside of it, the best thing that you can do is look at the existing ways that tofu is used in stews and soups and in different existing cultures. Okay, do I still remove the moisture? Not really, Paul D, because it's going to be braised. The tofu is not going to be sauteed at all. If I wanted to remove the moisture, I would soak it in boiling water and then pat it dry. Okay, but yeah, no, this idea of tofu somehow magically like absorbing sauces and marinades, I don't think is 100% accurate, November game. But yeah, this idea of like pressing tofu, people do it for texture reasons to make it seem more meat-like. I don't think it's all that accurate, guys. Right? I just want to really, really respect the texture of the tofu itself. I want it to be really, really nice and delicious. I don't want to have like these super chewy, meaty chunks inside of it or anything. Okay? Tofu is great for soaking up broth when you're having hot pot. That and shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms are my go-to broth soaker whenever I'm having hot pot. That stuff is truthfully just wonderful. Okay, so what is actually going to go into the mushrooms and the tofu? I think that I will be using some of course, the garlic and the ginger. That'll get sauteed. We'll add in Shaoxing wine. We'll add in the dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, as well as some Chinese black vinegar. I'm also considering using some tobanjan. Tobanjan is a fermented broad bean paste. I just have a jar of it in my fridge. It's oftentimes most famously used in mapo tofu. And even though this isn't a mapo tofu, I kind of want to go ahead and just use some because I already have it. Okay, so everybody, come take a look. The mushrooms, they have reabsorbed their own liquid. The water is evaporating and the pan is getting nice and dry. Medium-low heat is key to make sure that your fond does not burn at this stage. Medium-low heat, I'm going to say it again and again and again. So everybody, we are now basically left with a bunch of boiled mushrooms that are fairly unseasoned. But now is going to be the time for us to give them some love. Now we are entering the sautéing stage and now we add the oil. This is why we don't add the oil sooner. If we added the oil sooner, it would just soak it all up. But I promise you everybody, if you follow my method, right, you will not be left with greasy mushrooms that have just soaked all of it up. Okay? Mushrooms and tofu are great soakers in general. That's a great way to call them, Paul D. Calling them soakers is really funny. Okay, so everybody, you can see the mushroom fond is sticking to the bottom of the pan. The pan still has a little bit, not a lot, but it has a little bit of moisture. You do not want to completely dry out this pan because otherwise things are going to stick and burn. So when it still has a little bit of liquid left inside of it, we add in the oil. Okay, so little splash of peanut oil now, just enough to be able to properly saute these little guys. Okay, peanut oil goes in, once again the most traditional oil that is used in Chinese cooking, and scrape up the sides, scrape up the bottom, scrape up anything that could be possibly stuck, and now everybody, we have officially entered the sautéing stage. The mushrooms are going to get golden, and they're going to get brown, and they're going to get delicious and lovely. Okay, this is why we do it with this method. This is why we did it exactly like this. Okay, it's serious, serious business, everybody. So a little bit of salt going in. We don't need too much salt because we'll have a lot of salty ingredients being added later on. But at the moment, a little bit of salt just to go ahead and get us started. Awesome. Howdy, Sunny Peach Crush. Welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So, everybody, while this is sauteing, once again, medium-low heat. We're going to go ahead and do the rest of the prep that we need to do for this little guy, right? So we have some tobanjan that I want to fry up. We have some aromatics that I want to go ahead and get ready. My cutting board is a little wet, so we're just going to go ahead and dry that off. Today's stream is a really easy one. Today's stream is a really, really light one. There's not enough, there's not a crazy amount of stuff for us to prep, right? We just have a couple of components to get out of the way. Okay. Oh yeah, everybody, these mushrooms are properly and beautifully sauteing. They're getting nice and caramelized now. Now they're getting nice and browned and delicious. This is exactly what I wanted. Okay, awesome. So, what are some prep things that we need to go ahead and get done out of the way? Do you have any, do I have any pieces of advice for people that are trying to move away from processed food into homemade meals? So here on Queen, I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on that, but that's kind of like my entire show, right? If you have a bit more of a specific question, that would be, I think, a little bit easier for me to answer because I think yours is kind of broad. Chef, I regularly make a nice spicy fried rice, but it feels unfilling since I cut pork out. Do you think tofu might help avoiding that? I mean, you could do a fried rice with tofu. I don't actually typically really favor the texture of tofu inside of a fried rice. If you really want something meaty, honestly, I'd just go for some mushrooms. I would go for mushrooms. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Okay, mushrooms, that'll really do it for you. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of a cornstarch slurry. And the reason why we're doing a cornstarch slurry is because this is what's going to really help to beautifully thicken up the sauce. Okay, this is what's going to give it that viscosity. This is what's going to give that sauce the ability to just to coat everything. Otherwise, it'll just be really runny and just slide off of everything. So I'm doing roughly, I'm not counting too exactly, but we're doing roughly about I don't know, I want to say half a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more of some cornstarch. Okay, all of that just goes in right now. I don't think that's going to tip over. That looks okay. Going to go back to my mushrooms, give these guys a little stir. Awesome. And just again, everybody, we're scraping off the bottom in case there's any stuck protein bits. And these mushrooms are getting nice and gorgeous and caramelized. Okay, so we have some of this, and we're just going to need some water to go ahead and make the cornstarch slurry for today. And this cornstarch slurry, again, this is what's going to end up thickening the sauce. Okay, this is, again, super important in a lot of Chinese cooking, which is understanding your starches. This is going to give it that viscosity. This is going to give it that texture that you're looking for, and every so often, we just have to go ahead and mix it back through. Okay, next, we're also going to need some tobanjan. Tobanjan is this delicious chili bean paste. It's spicy, it's fermented, it's lovely. Okay, also Homelander, welcome on in. And we'll just be adding in a spoon of it or so into the dish. And into the cornstarch slurry, I'm also going to just add in some Shaoxing wine. Although the order of operations doesn't actually matter as much as people think it does. So some Shaoxing wine going in. Tobanjan ready to go. So not exactly like a mapo tofu, but definitely inspired by said mapo tofu. So guys, I gotta say, my mushrooms are looking delicious at the moment. They look nice and caramelized and flavorful and exactly what I want them to be at the stage. Okay, so what do we have to do with them now? Well, we have to add the garlic and ginger. We have to add in my chopped up chili. We have to add in the tobanjan, and then we have to deglaze the whole thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin doing that. Everybody, we're first adding in the chili. I want my chili to fry. I want my chili to infuse into the oil, but we don't add it at the same time as the mushrooms because they would have otherwise gotten too soft and too mushy. So we add them in now for a quick little saute inside of all of this oil as well. And again, is it traditional to use a serrano chili in Chinese food? No, but that's what I already had at home. And the most important thing about cooking at home is to first use what you already have. Okay? So take it and fry it up. Fry it up, fry it up, fry it up. Properly saute it, everybody. And I gotta say, these mushrooms already look kind of excellent at the moment. I'm going to take one out just to sample as a little snack, as a little treat for myself, once it cools down, because it's currently a hot mushroom covered in hot peanut oil, which I don't know if you guys know, will be quite difficult to eat. Okay, so that's going, that looks good. Just give that a few more minutes and then we'll add in the rest of my aromatics. Guys, just mushrooms, salt, and chilies, and yet that shiitake, perfectly sauteed, really, really delicious, really, really flavorful. That was a very beautiful bite that I just had. Okay, everybody, it is now time for us to add the garlic and ginger. We don't add the garlic and ginger in the beginning because otherwise it would burn. Garlic and ginger, super delicate, super prone to scorching, so we add it now. But the goal is for the garlic and ginger to still infuse into the oil, for it to still get nice and fried and nice and toasted. So nice medium, low heat, everybody. And the goal is to really, truly, properly fry up my garlic and my ginger. There we go. And it's all coming together, everybody. It's all coming together slowly but surely. Take it and just keep mixing it. Keep frying it. Scrape up those sides. And we are left with all of these lovely, delicious, seasoned mushrooms. Okay? Excellent. Looking very, very good at the moment. Looking really, really delicious. So, what else do we need to go ahead and add in here, everybody? We now need to go ahead and add a nice big old spoon or two of tobanjan. This is the fermented chili bean paste, once again, very traditionally used iconically in mapo tofu, even though that's not the dish we're doing today. And we also want to fry this out. We want it to infuse into the oil. We don't just want to boil the stuff, guys. We want it to properly fry and get really, really nice and aromatic as well. It adds in so much flavor, it adds in lovely spice, and it gives you that big fermented oomph, okay? So keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Keep it frying, everybody. Keep it frying, keep mixing it, make sure nothing is scorching, nothing is sticking. Nice medium-high heat or so at the moment. Keep scraping up the bottom, keep it all going. And we are now left with this incredible pot of aromatic, really, really delicious stuff, okay? Is this cooking speedrun? Not really. This process just has to take some time. Also, Megasub, were you talking about my speech impediment just now? Ugh. Yikes. Properly fry it. Keep it going. Okay. That should be good. And so, we will now go ahead and add in some of my dark soy sauce, some of my light soy sauce as well. And this is basically the deglazing stage, everybody. This is where the frying ends and the simmering begins. Dark soy sauce, just a little splash of it as well. We don't want too much of it. We don't want too much salinity. Okay, we don't want it to become overpowering or anything inside of my final product. So a little splash of dark soy sauce, a little splash of light soy sauce. And then we'll go ahead and get some water into the mix as well. There we go. Just a little bit of water just to go ahead and thin things out a little bit. Okay, mix it back around. And now, everybody, we will be adding in my cornstarch slurry at this stage and not later. The reason why we do the cornstarch slurry now is because if we add it later on when the tofu is already inside, mixing it up is going to cause the tofu to break and fall apart a lot. Okay, so my Shaoxing wine, my cornstarch, and my water, all of it gets added now. And everybody, I need your full attention. I need to hear a nice yes, chef. Once we add this in, you do not stop stirring. You don't want this to just clump up on a few different parts. You don't want this to congeal in a couple of starchy lumps. You want to really, really thoroughly stir this in. Stir it in so that it's nicely and evenly distributed, everybody. And you will see how this magically transforms into a thick, luscious, viscous sauce to go ahead and hold the tofu and the mushrooms. So scrape up those sides, get it all back incorporated, and you can already see, everybody, that viscosity. You can see how saucy and rich it is currently becoming, right? You can just move the spoon back and you can see how it begins to hold on to itself. Awesome. Okay, that all looks really, really good at the moment. And so, let's taste it. That is delicious, that is spicy, that has all the flavor from the soy sauce and the tobanjan at the moment. Ooh, guys, that is good. Okay, it's a little too salty though. It's a little too salty. We're still gonna need to thin this out with some more liquid, and this is why I wanted to be really careful when we season the mushrooms. Because normally in Chinese cooking, you have so many different salty components. You have your soy sauce, you have your tobanchan, you have all these fermented ingredients that you can easily lose control of it. So less is more, okay? But right now, that looks really, really good. I'm actually also going to go ahead and add in some rock sugar, just for a little bit of extra sweetness, just because I'm kind of looking for that balance. So a little cube, not too much. Guys, trying to get a rock sugar chunk that's not that big is becoming a bit of a hassle. I don't need a massive crystal. I only need a little bit. Please. Please tell me this will do. This will do. This is maybe a little bigger than I would like, but that's okay. I refuse to break it up. That would be too much effort for me at the moment. Okie dokie. Take it and mix it in. Just mix it in, mix it in. And then once the sugar is dissolved, everybody, we'll go ahead and we'll cook the tofu and all of this good stuff. And we're deglazing the pan. We're scraping up anything that could be potentially stuck to the sides. Scraping anything and everything up. And now the balance of flavors, the balance inside is so much tighter. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take a second just to put a few things away, everybody. And then we will go ahead and proceed with the fish and with the rice. Okay, that's that. My tobanchan can go into the fridge officially now. We no longer need a lot of my different sauces at the moment either, so I can go ahead and do away with them. So everybody, I know this has been a little bit chaotic so far, but everything is settling down. We made the seasoned soy sauce. We're working on the mushrooms and tofu now. And then the last two things will be the rice and the fish. The fish is actually going to be the easiest part of the whole thing. This mushroom tofu side dish that I've envisioned, probably a lot of it. Okay? All of that. That balance now, so much tighter. Okay? That little bit of water, okay? It just really, really helps to make sure that not everything is like super in your face salty. Okay? So let's go ahead and finish dissolving this massive, massive chunk of rock sugar that I still have here just hanging out. And then we'll go in with the tofu. There you go. Ooh, guys, that is good. That is all delicious, I have to say. And it still hasn't simmered down. It still hasn't had a chance to properly cook on its own. It still doesn't have the white pepper and the scallions. And by itself, already, I will say that this is incredible. So, guys, now we have to be super, super delicate with how we treat the tofu. The tofu in its rawmost stage, this is where it can fall apart the easiest. So, we take the heat, we lower it back down, and this is a little trick that I picked up from Korean cooking, right? This is how you would oftentimes serve tofu in a Korean stew, which is we're just going to just gently lay this in. Just gently lay it in, and we're not really going to move it too much. We're just going to essentially let this tofu steam. At this stage, the tofu is prone to breaking, it is prone to cracking, it is prone to falling apart, but a little bit of cook time, my friends, and I promise you, all of your worries will be dissipated. So I'm laying them in. It's okay if they're stacked on top of each other. They just need a little bit of time to steam. So it is completely okay for them to be just like this. Okay? And now we can go ahead and slap a little lid on this. Nice low heat because we don't want the sauce to scorch. We're gonna steam the tofu, mix it in, mix in the scallions, and everything is gonna be lovely. This is going to need at least 10 to 15 to 20 minutes more of cook time, although you can't really overcook it. So, everybody, we now have to go ahead and talk about and worry about the rice for today. And so this is a very important topic. I need everybody's full attention. I need to hear a nice, resounding yes, chef, please and thank you from everybody watching. Okay, so guys, I'm about to teach you something super, super important. I'm going to teach you something that will never leave you. I'm going to teach you something that will impress everybody in your life. And that is making perfect rice without a rice cooker. I'm going to stop you from ever having gloopy, mushy, overcooked, sad, pathetic rice. The kind that you're embarrassed to give people. I'm going to show you how to get incredible restaurant quality rice without needing a rice cooker. So, why do I not use a rice cooker? I live in a New York apartment. The less appliances I have here, the better. Second of all, rice cookers are nice if you're eating rice throughout the day, okay? But if you're only eating them for one meal or so, I don't find it to be the best investment. I love rice cookers, but I'm going to teach you guys how to make the best possible stovetop rice. What kind of rice am I using for today? I'm using a jasmine rice. This method will apply to anything except brown rice. This will apply to sushi rice, basmati, jasmine, Carolina gold, anything that you can possibly think of. So in goes a completely unspecified volume of rice. Guys, I'm not measuring. We do not need to measure at all. Okay? Anybody that tells you you have to use exactly 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice, they're talking out of their ass and they have no idea what they're talking about. So, I will teach you guys how to end up with perfect cooked rice. Here's the thing that you need to all remember. You need to remember that it's not the amount of time that you cook it for that gives you perfectly cooked rice. It's purely your amount of liquid. The less liquid, the more granular it's going to be. The more liquid, the softer it's going to be. Sometimes I want like a very nice sticky rice for like a sticky rice bowl, right? So I would do a little bit more liquid. If I'm doing something for a fried rice, I would do as little water as possible. In this case, we're going to do a moderate amount of liquid, and we'll talk about that and I'll show you what that looks like. The first step is to wash the rice. This I can't actually show to all of you because I will need to go to the sink, but instead I'm just going to show you this lovely pot of tofu steaming and cooking away in the meantime so that you guys have a little something to look at because I think this is a very nice visual. So we're going to agitate this claw grip and just basically rinse out the rice until the water runs somewhat clear. Okay, why do you do this? Well, traditionally it was because rice is dirty and has little stones and dust that you want to get rid of. But the reason why we do it is just so that we can get rid of excess starch. By getting rid of that excess starch, we stop the rice from becoming too gloopy. So I'm going to run through it. It's going to take about maybe 7 passes of water all the way through, filling it up to the top. Okay, and I can see the chat behind me if anybody has any questions. Jack, sink cam when? I'm going to say by the end of this year. I'm moving to a new place in July. I'm going to work on getting a sync camera set up. I promise. I would love to get you guys a sync camera one of these days, okay? Also, everybody, while I have your attention, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you guys haven't already done so, please check out my Patreon, ! Patreon. My goal is to keep teaching people how to cook. My goal is to teach people how to cook at home. And so the Patreon is the best way to financially support the show and support what we're doing here. Okay, so washing the rice, rinsing it out, rinsing it out, rinsing it out, until the water runs mostly clear. Yeah, that's right. It helps keep them nice and separate. It helps keep it nice and granular instead of something too starchy and too gloopy. Okay, that looks quite good. And now everybody, I'm going to show you the exact amount of liquid that I want you to use here. Okay? So, once again, the amount of time that you cook your rice for doesn't actually matter. The most important thing over and over that I will keep saying is the amount of liquid that you have, the amount of moisture that you have. So everybody come take a look. We're not doing the fingernail test. We're not doing any of that. Basically, this is what you're looking for. At minimum, you want your water to go up to the level of the rice. The more water that you add on top of that, the softer your rice is going to end up being. At the moment, I have, if I were to distribute this, maybe 1 millimeter or 2 of water above the rice, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my rice to be nice and soft, nice and squishy. I'm not looking for it to be so granular that all of them are separated, but I'm not looking for it to be so soft that it turns into a bowl of porridge. So, here's your times. Bring to a boil, drop to a simmer, put a lid on, 20 minutes. Minimum of 20 minutes. And here is the secret. You can't actually overcook the rice. The only thing that happens the longer that you cook the rice is that the bottom gets crispier. And if you're using a non-stick pan, the bottom doesn't actually get all that dry and crispy. If you're using a stainless steel pan, it gets a little bit crispier, purely because if things stick, they brown. So everybody, to recap. 1, we never think about volumetric ratios. We're never using cups, nothing like that. 2, we wash it until the rice is clear, depending on how much starch you want. 3, you take enough water to the level of rice, and the more that you add on top of it, the moister it's going to be. Okay, 4, bring to a boil, drop to a simmer, cook it for 20 minutes at minimum, or 18 minutes or so, and it should be okay. Is it possible to make your rice so soft you can make congee out of it? Absolutely. That's a nice way to use mushy rice that got overcooked. So, look at my rice, everybody. Once again, I'm going to go to the stove, and again, all that we're doing at the moment is we're just taking it, bringing it to a boil, and dropping it to a simmer. So we're starting it off on a nice medium heat or so. I'm making sure that my water and my rice is both evenly distributed. Everybody, you can see my tofu and my mushrooms, everything is just perfectly cooking. And now we just want to very, very gently, delicately see if we can just move things around. I want my tofu and mushrooms to be nice and submerged. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm also scraping up the bottom in case anything is squelching. But guys, I gotta say, this looks pretty good at the moment. Okay, we also got to go ahead and get some water boiling. This is going to be for the steamed fish. Ooh, is that water level up too high? I have a feeling it might be, but no, I think it should be okay. Everybody, it is now officially time for us to work on the steamed fish. Is that a homemade mushroom stock? Not quite. This is more so just tofu and mushrooms. There is no stock, there is no broth involved in this business. Everybody, I have a steamer basket, I have a steamer, and I'm bringing it up to a boil. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and steam this fish really delicately. We made the seasoned soy sauce. We're working on the braised mushrooms with tofu. We're working on some rice as well in the meantime, all the way back there. So we're really busy. We have so much that we need to be doing. Is everybody still watching? I wanna hear a nice yes, chef, please and thank you. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about tradition and let's talk about what I'm doing differently. Traditionally, in a Cantonese style steamed fish, you wouldn't use this weird metal steamer basket that I have here. You would have fish, typically a whole fish. You would put it onto a plate, and then you would steam it in a wok with boiling water. I don't have access to that. I'm also not working with a whole fish. I would love to do that like steamer plate method, although I only have this really available to me at the moment. What the pot sees when we check on it, that's right. So, I'm going to show you how to use a metal steamer quite like this one. So, if we were to add fish directly to the metal, the fish would end up scorching and it would end up sticking to the metal. So instead of using a ceramic plate or something, I just have here some plain old parchment paper. Okay, plain old parchment paper, and we'll be trimming it up. Would eggplant be a decent substitute for tofu? I mean, I would just make another dish entirely. I don't like to think of things as like, oh, this is a good substitute for this or that. The reality is, you know what the best substitute for tofu is? Paneer. Using a fresh cheese like a paneer, it has a very similar texture to tofu. I have used cabbage as a steamer liner. I sure have, Trash Can Cat Mom. Okay, so we have to go ahead and just cut this bad boy down to size and cut it into roughly a circle shape. Everybody, this is my least favorite part about cooking, the arts and crafts portion. The amount of times that I've had to like make biscuits and like trim up my parchment paper, I hate it. I really, really, truly hate it. I'm gonna crumple it up a little bit so that it just stays nice and flat, a little easier. Okay? And so all that we need to go ahead and do is just take it and cut it into a nice little circle shape. Just something that can properly fit, of course, inside of this little guy. There's no wrong way to do arts and crafts. I vehemently disagree with that, but that's okay. To each their own. Okay, so we still have a little bit more to trim up. Let's just go ahead and get that done, everybody. Come on. Okay, and I just want this to easily and cleanly fit inside. So again, why am I doing this? Otherwise, the fish will actually just end up sticking to the steamer itself. Have I ever been to Colombia? I have never been to Colombia, but I would love to Sunny Peach Crush. Colombia has such amazing food. Okay, my rice is boiling, guys. Drop it to a simmer. I forgot to mention that. Drop to a simmer, take it, and then we're cooking it for about 20 minutes or so. 20 minutes, but again, you can't really overcook it, but you can definitely undercook your rice. Okay? So that water is boiling. This sauce for the mushrooms and the tofu is all going to. The mushrooms and tofu are now a little bit firmer, so we can just take it and move it around without worrying about breaking up the tofu too much. Guys, that sauce, that is delicious. Okay? Ooh, that is good. Maybe a little too much of the rock sugar, which I do kind of regret in retrospect. But that's still really, really tasty. Okay, still keep it going though. I'm still trying to evaporate the excess liquid. Okay. Oh, that's a good idea, Godzillas. Well, it's a little too late for that, but it's already mostly fitted. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit. But the only thing that we need to do, okay, we need to first cut some incisions. And this is so that it doesn't sort of like curl up as we're steaming. Okay? This just makes it a little bit easier for us to go ahead and take it out. And then in order to really facilitate the steam going up and around it, because guys, look at it. Otherwise the paper would just block all of that steam. It would stop it from getting up and around the fish. We have to go in there and we just have to go ahead and poke some holes. Okay? Never mind. Take this and poke a couple of holes inside, everybody. And this is just going to allow any pooled up water to just go ahead and just come back down the steamer. So just take it, poke some holes, poke some holes, poke some holes. Chef, what should I cook for my partner to distract them if they caught me cheating? Anything that I teach you. Anything that I teach you, I promise you, will be lovely to distract anybody from all the different awful things that you could do to them. Okay. Okay, there you go. Everybody come take a look. That's my steamer basket all ready to go. And now we're gonna be using my fish. Once again, I don't have access to affordable, high quality whole fish. I live in New York City. Okay, and if you know anything about New York City, you would know things are expensive here, especially if you live in the United States. Really good quality seafood is expensive. So, how can you still eat seafood if you live in most parts of the US? I have an answer for you, and I have a really, really big piece of advice for all of you guys, which is, if you live in an area that's not coastal, unless you're buying live fish, the fish that you typically get, and I need to hear a nice yes, chef. The fish that you're typically buying in a supermarket, on the fish counter, shrimp or salmon, whatever it is, has been previously frozen. And that's okay, freezing keeps it fresh. But when it's already thawed, you don't know how long it's been sitting out there for. So, everybody, buying whole frozen fillets, buying whole chunks of frozen fish is the freshest way to get fish, unless you know that it was caught that day or it was caught by a local fisherman or something. But typically speaking, in most parts of the United States, you don't actually have access to freshly caught seafood. So, we go ahead and we use frozen tilapia, and that's okay. Frozen fish is the freshest fish that you can get, and flash frozen being best, I mean, yeah, of course, Coda Anthony. Absolutely. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and take each of these lovely fillets. We're going to season them with some salt, flip them over, season the other side with salt, and top them off with ginger slices. So I'm going to go ahead and tie up my hair. Awesome. Get a couple of gloves out, just because I'll be handling some fish and it'll make my life easier to do so. That's okay, underestimated monkey. You get a few. Okay, and so guys, this is a tilapia. It's really, really thin. Okay, it's really, really delicate. We're just going to gently season this with a little bit of salt, but still remember that this will be getting the seasoned soy sauce. So you don't actually need a crazy amount of salt at all. I'm going to take each of my little fillets here, everybody, and I'm just going to set it onto the plate and just make sure that it is fully in contact with the plate, or with the paper, excuse me, and not the metal, because the metal will cause it to stick. Okay, and take this fillet. And guys, my steamer basket here, it's a little cramped. It's not the best size, I think, for 2 fillets. But guys, country girls make do. We'll find a way to make it work. We'll figure it out somehow, I think. Okay, just take it and settle it in. I'm being really, really delicate, guys, because of course this is a tilapia. It's very, very delicate. Okay, just take it and hit it with a little bit more salt right on top. And I do mean a gentle, gentle amount, guys. This is gonna get the seasoned soy sauce. It's all gonna be lovely, okay? And last but not least, guys, I have some fresh ginger slices, okay? Just gonna stack them up right here, and this is just gonna go ahead and help the fish become nice and aromatic. A steamed fish is supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be delicate. It's supposed to be really, really simple, okay? So just a little bit of salt, just some ginger on top of the fish as well, okay? My lovely tofu and mushroom, it's all going. It is currently boiling and bubbling away at the moment. It looks wonderful. I might have broken up the tofu a little too much. But guys, I gotta say, that is delicious. Too much rock sugar, but who cares? I don't. Okay? So, I do believe that my water should be boiling at the moment. In total, it is only going to take about 10 minutes of boiling, or of steaming, excuse me. So why do we steam it? Steaming is a very nice way to gently cook a piece of meat, right? When you have white fish like this, right? When you have tilapia, when you have red snapper, grilling it very aggressively or hitting it with a lot of heat, you can easily overcook the outside of the fish. By steaming it, it's very, very gentle, it's very delicate, it doesn't hammer it and destroy it with heat, and we get to keep it nice and moist that way. Okay, so that's ready to go. This lovely concoction here is also going. I'm going to probably set the fish on in about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll just plate, eat, and then we'll be done with it. Right, we're in the final stages of the cooking show at the moment. We don't have that much more left to do. The seasoned soy sauce is already done, which I'm really, really excited about. Yeah, there you go. So we can just chat for a little bit. I just want to synchronize everything. I want to time everything all together. I am not from Louisiana, Taza. Don't spread propaganda. Hi. This is a really good time to ask me any questions. While we have a moment, and also, once again, if you haven't already checked out my Patreon, exclamation mark Patreon. So, here's my 2 tilapia fillets, just with some ginger on top to give it some aroma. We also have completed my gorgeous seasoned soy sauce. Okay, this has the garlic, the ginger, the cilantro stems, some white pepper. Okay, it's aromatic, it's delicious, it's really, really yummy. Okay? Currently going and bubbling away is my tofu with shiitake mushrooms. Soy sauce, it's nice and sweet, it's nice and syrupy, it's thickened with a little bit of cornstarch. Ooh, and this is the kind of thing that is ideal with a bowl of rice. Doesn't matter how you mince your garlic, I use a cheese shredder, lol. So assuredly real. That's a really good question. It does matter. Specifically, here's the cool thing about garlic. The finer that you mince it when it is raw, the more that you crush and the more that you process it, the more pungent it becomes because of allicin. Right, because of the fact that you are forming allicin the more that you crush the cells of the garlic as a defense mechanism. So the way that you do cut it does matter. However, I think grating it versus using a garlic press will get you a similar result. Chef, are you doing anything cool for Pride? I'll do what I do every time in June, which is stay at home, probably. I don't know, maybe I'll go to a Pride parade, maybe, I don't know. This Pride month, I've gotten so down bad that I bought a lesbian and trans patch to sew onto my pants and a carabiner to hook onto my belt loops. So, you know. Okay, chef. If I add shiitake mushrooms to my fried rice, what would that entail? Just toss it in with the rice sauce and broccoli, or would I need to do something to it first? I would do the wet cooking method, and then I would cook everything in batches. Do the wet cooking method, saute it, and then take it out. Do I cook for anyone, chef? I do here on Queens. So my mom is out of town, but I live with my mom at the moment, and the food that I make is normally for the 2 of us. But otherwise, I try to cook for people whenever I'm able to. Right? If I really care about somebody, I would love to cook for them. Okie dokie. So my water is boiling, and it seems to be all ready to go for the steamed fish today. It looks excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and lower that in. I'm going to get that going. I'm going to go ahead and get that steaming. You guys might not be able to see it. I have a new camera angle because I've realized that the other cameras weren't even doing all that much for me anyhow. But my water is aggressively boiling, and don't worry, I'll still showcase it. I'll still show it off and everything, okay? Do I do experimental cooking often, or do I stick to instructions? Well, Coda Anthony, everything that I do here, nothing is a recipe. I'm not trying to teach you guys recipes. I'm here to teach you guys techniques and theory and ideas. So do I stick to instructions? Not in the slightest. I do things because I have to, right? I think about the function of all my different steps. I think about why I'm doing certain things, okay? And I do things that I would then deem necessary as a result. So my water is nice and aggressively boiling. I will now go ahead and lower in my fish. Guys, for these tilapia fillets, this will only be about 8 to 10 minutes at absolute maximum. Okay, you don't really want to go more than that because you'll just go ahead and lose all of that flavor. It'll just become dry and overcooked, and that is not what we're looking for. We want a very nice, delicious, tender piece of fish, my friends. Okay? And it's going to be just that. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be incredible. Okay. So that's the majority of the work that we've already gotten so far. Now let's go ahead and finish up my tofu and mushrooms. So we finish it with the white pepper. Okay, we want to go very, very little. Too much, and I promise you, it will become immediately overpowering. So gentle, gentle dust of white pepper. We can always add more. I also have my chopped up scallions. And then last but not least, everybody, a nice drizzle of sesame oil going inside. But also, I don't think that's an exclusively US thing, underestimated monkey. It's because people were taught recipes. People were taught recipes, and they don't really know why they're doing the different things that they're doing. So, I don't know if that's purely an American thing. I think it's just purely a modernization and convenience culture thing, okay? So, take it, and we're gonna mix it in. I think my tofu is doomed to fail at this point. My tofu is just gonna break apart a little bit. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I don't really care. I started my tofu a little too aggressively. It happens. It happens to the best of us. So it'll be all right. Oh no, the tofu is broken. It's over. No, it's fine. It is absolutely fine. So let's go ahead and taste it. I'm going to just go ahead and just take a little spoon of some of the tofu and some of the mushrooms. Take a little bite and see how it's going. But guys, less is more when it comes to white pepper. Less is absolutely more. Okay? Oh, guys. Oh, that is good. Everybody, this tofu and mushroom has just become the star of the show for me. Okay, let's go ahead and let's kill the heat, and let's go ahead and finish it with some fresh cilantro, just because we have some. It's sweet, it's sticky, it's delicious, it's everything that we've wanted it to be and more, everybody. Take a nice big old bundle of this fresh cilantro. The rest of it is going to be used for the fish. And just stir it all in. Just stir it in, stir it in. My fish is steaming up beautifully at the moment. It's getting nice and delicious. And that is my mushroom and tofu concoction. Do I like to cook curry dishes? Absolutely, I do here on Queen. In fact, I think the next thing that I want to do is going to be doing another Japanese curry. I haven't done a Japanese curry in a while. I love Japanese curry. So that'll be a project for next time, I think. I've never done cilantro without lime before. Well, Coda Anthony, cilantro is not purely a Mexican herb, right? It is used all the time in a lot of different cuisines, especially in East Asian cuisines, especially in Chinese cuisines, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and take a second to clean up. I'm gonna go ahead and just get a couple of things into my dishwasher. Do I do crab cakes? The answer is no. The reason why I don't do crab cakes is because I don't consider them home food, Homelander. Everything that I want to teach you guys are really, really easy, convenient dishes to be able to effectively make in the home setting. I think deep frying at home is at best a chore and at least a major, major inconvenience. Okay? It takes up a lot of space, it takes up a lot of time, there's a lot of filtering and cleaning, especially in batches, so I don't really do crab cakes, I'm afraid to say. Because when I'm thinking of a crab cake, I want like a deep fried one, I want it to be crispy. You could theoretically just pan fry it, but that is not what I'm ultimately looking for out of crab cakes. Yeah, but that was a good question though. But I just want to teach you guys dishes that I think are ideally suited to the home setting. Consider this amazing tofu and mushroom dish. What's so nice about this is that tofu and mushrooms, they can be reheated as many times as you would like. Whenever you're hungry, this is the kind of a dish that you can keep in the fridge. It's delicious when it's fresh, and it's delicious when it's reheated, right? The tilapia thing, it's so simple, it's so easy to do that it's, you know, you can just really, really easily throw it together from a frozen filet. So everything that I want to teach you guys is how to cook at home, how to cook in a home setting. So I'm just taking a second. I'm putting some things, I'm putting some things away that we no longer need, that we have no more use for. My soy sauces can officially go away. How long does it last in the fridge? As does any leftover, right? So I would say 4 days, 5 days or so, something like that. Okay, but yeah, this looks wonderful at the moment, I must say. So all that I'm going to do is I'm just going to spoon it into a bowl and just have that ready and have that waiting for whenever we're ready to eat. Right? So go ahead and take it. I'm going to go ahead and grab a ladle of this stuff, and then we'll garnish it with some scallions, my friends. Take my mushrooms, take my tofu, all of it just soaked up that gorgeous sauce that we have. And then we will go ahead and finish it with some fresh scallions. And just a few fresh scallions. Just right on top. The rest of these scallions will be used for the fish though. Right? And there it is. Nice and simple, nice and delicious. Homelander, thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day today. Ooh. Guys, I'm really, really excited to eat this guy. This is the thing that I've been looking forward to the most. Okay? And I'll just continue to put a few things away while we have a second of time. I think I'll also switch over the active burner that I'm using, just so that you guys can witness the process, I suppose, of steaming the fish. Right. Take that. And let's just go and pick that up. Come on, buddy. On you go. Excellent. And that just still is going to continue to steam. It's got about 4 more minutes left on it at the moment. Everybody, we're at the finish line. We just have to finish strong at this point. We just have so little left to do, so little left to go. Thank you all for being with me along the ride. Put my vinegar away. Awesome. Are there any shows or movies that I've been into lately, Chef? I've been watching BoJack Horseman for the first time. I can't believe it's taken me this long, but yeah, I'm BoJacking it at the moment. Ooh, guys, and the rice just needs a few more minutes. In fact, I could argue that the rice is done at this moment. Typically, 17 to 18 minutes is the ideal cook time, okay? Anything past that, you can still do. It just makes the bottom even crispier, okay? So, everybody, I'm going to show you. Are you ready for this? I'm going to show you what perfectly cooked rice without the use of a rice cooker looks like. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this. Perfectly cooked, not mushy, nothing like that. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Look at this thing. Perfectly cooked, nice and fluffy, nice and soft, nice and aromatic. Jasmine rice has such a beautiful aroma to it. Look at this rice. Look at this rice. No rice cooker required. You can do this too. Guys, don't listen to the people that are telling you buy a rice cooker. Buy a rice cooker if you want to eat rice all the time. Buy a rice cooker if you have space. But you don't need a rice cooker to make beautiful, perfectly consistent stovetop rice. And so all that we did was just we slightly fluffed it up a little bit. We fluffed it up, and now we're just going to go ahead and let it steam through. Put a lid back on it and let it sit for at least 5 minutes or until you're ready to eat. That is the kind of rice that you can do, my friends. You can do it too. Anybody can cook, okay? So, to finish the fish though, we'll be doing a cute little method of basically we're gonna be pouring over some really, really hot oil on top of the fish fillets. And I'll show you why. Essentially, we're going to get a little bit of extra fried aroma. We're going to get a little bit of caramelization onto the fish, and we're essentially going to make the scallions and the cilantros, it's going to make it really, really aromatic. I don't think restaurant chefs use rice cookers either. They absolutely do. If it's like bulk rice for like to be served as a staple, in a restaurant setting, you absolutely need a rice cooker, right? Because it keeps it warm, it does so much of it for you, and I have nothing against rice cookers. All that I'm saying is, for most people, you don't actually really need it. So all that I'm doing is I'm gonna be heating up some peanut oil to pour over the fish, and you will see why, my friends. Just a little bit of peanut oil. Gonna go ahead and get that nice and hot. And now, my friends, I do believe that my steamed fish should be just about ready to come on out. I want that flesh to be nice and soft. I want it to be nice and succulent. I want it to be nice and moist. So let's go ahead and do an inspection. I know it doesn't look much right now, but I promise you it's all gonna get there. So, let's inspect it. Once again, I just want my flesh to be all cooked through. I want any gumminess out of the tilapia gone. And everybody, I do believe that we have hit that point. We have hit that point, and now let's go ahead and get ready for the final process. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. My oil for the fish is heating on up. It's all getting nice and hot. This step isn't super necessary, but it's very, very traditional to do it that way. And I'll show you exactly what we do with it. I have my fish perfectly cooked, perfectly steamed through, everybody. Okay? And all that I'm going to do right now, we're going to take off the ginger. And what's nice about the very classic method of like steaming it in the same plate that you'll be eating it off of is it's just like a little bit more space efficient, right? You don't have to mess around with all that I'm doing here, but that's okay. Take the ginger, off it goes, everybody. Please say thank you to the ginger. It's done a wonderful job for us today. It made our fish nice and aromatic. Okay, I'm just getting a plate ready to go for this. Okay, and all that we're going to do, everybody, is really, really gently put it on to the plate. Here's my plate that we'll be eating this on. And now I have to figure out how the hell will I get these really, really delicate, these really, really soft tilapia fillets out of the steamer and onto the plate. That is going to be the challenge at the moment. Okay, and I think a spatula might be my best friend here. A spatula, I think, is just going to get nice and undo it. It's just going to do a good job. Okay, or at least I would think so. This is why I don't like this metal steamer basket. This metal steamer basket thing, guys, it's really not it. I would love to just get the proper equipment for this one day, but I think we got it. So, I know it doesn't look much right now. Everybody, I know this doesn't look like a lot, but I promise you, we're about to get there. It's all going to turn beautiful, and it's all going to turn delicious in just a moment's time. Because now it is time for us to garnish the fish and get it all ready to go. Yeah, I can't really slide it out with this specific setup. It's a little clunky, it's a little cumbersome. So everybody, come take a look. Whoa, why is it getting so dark? Beautifully cooked tilapia, nice and fresh. And now, we line it with my scallions directly on top, and you will see why. Just a bunch of scallions, and I do mean a bunch. You guys, you can't have too many scallions. And then we're going to go ahead and take a bunch of fresh cilantro as well. And I do mean a bunch of fresh cilantro. Okay, and now we pour in some of my seasoned soy sauce. Okay, so my seasoned soy sauce just goes directly on top of some of the herbs, directly on top of the fish. Okay, but we're not done yet, everybody, because now the final step comes into play, which is I have this super, super hot peanut oil that has been slowly but surely heating on up. And now we're going to go ahead and pour over the oil directly on top. There you go, something like that. And that just really, really quickly sizzled up the scallions. It really, really quickly sizzled up the cilantro. Fried it for just a moment. Really made it all nice and beautiful and aromatic. And that's it. Now the fish is done. And that is a very, very traditional way to serve this type of Cantonese steamed fish. You'd pour over the boiling oil on top. It really makes the cilantro and the scallion super aromatic. And now everybody, ooh, I made a bit of a mess. That did splash oil a couple of directions, but that's okay. That's fine. That happens to the best of us. Everybody, I believe it is time for us to finish plating. We have the fish, we have the mushrooms and the tofu, and last but not least, let's go ahead and get myself a really, really proper bowl of rice. Because you can't have this kind of a dish without rice. The rice here is fundamental. It is so, so, so important. I'm gonna go ahead and take it. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a nice, big old scoop of rice. There you go. And now everybody, this is all of the food that we have ready to go for for today. I'm just taking a second, I'm just cleaning up the station. I'm making sure that everything looks as nice as it physically can. Okay? I want this to look nice for all of you. I would like you guys to be able to see everything that we have, that we've made together, that we've worked on. Come on, how do I frame this? Oh, framing this backwards is so annoying. Okay, whatever, I give up. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a spoon and we'll do the last recap session and we'll talk about everything that we've made together and we'll go ahead and dig in. So everybody, thank you for being along with me on this journey. Thank you all for being here. What did we end up making today? We made this incredible, beautiful Cantonese style steamed fish. Okay, so we have some tilapia that we gently steamed, with a little bit of ginger. We made a seasoned soy sauce out of scallion whites, garlic, ginger, dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, a little bit of rock sugar, white pepper, and sesame oil, and some Shaoxing wine as well. Then we garnished it with some cilantro, we garnished it with scallions, we poured over the seasoned soy sauce, and then we poured in some boiling hot oil, right, just to quickly fry the scallions and cilantro. Then everybody, we made this braised mushroom and tofu, rock sugar, garlic, ginger, shiitake mushrooms, firm tofu, a little bit of cornstarch, Shaoxing wine, dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, white pepper, and sesame oil as well. Thick and delicious and juicy. And last but not least, everybody, this perfectly cooked steamed rice. Every single time I make perfect stovetop rice at home. No need for a rice cooker. We just take it, we fill it up with water just about to the same level as the rice, a little bit extra, bring to a boil, drop to a simmer, cook it for 20 minutes with a lid on, and that is that, my friends. And so, how do you eat all of this? The rice is the core. The rice is the base of all of this. So we'll go ahead and we'll take some mushrooms and some tofu and just spoon it over. And so what's gonna happen is, the rice is just gonna perfectly absorb the sauce. We're gonna go ahead and get a nice little scoop of everything. Guys, that is wonderful. So delicious. And now, the star of the show for today, which is the fish. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take it. I'm just gonna go ahead and just break up some of the fish, grab a little chunk of the fillet, like so. You don't really need to get more of the seasoned soy sauce. I promise you it picks up enough of it as it is, but a little bit. Let's grab it, flakes beautifully, taste it. Oh. Oh yeah. It's delicate, it's simple, it's aromatic, it's everything that you wanted to be and more. I'm not gonna lie, guys, tilapia, it's not a very, it's not a very delicious fish. It's not the best texture. I don't love tilapia, but this kind of a method, it just makes it so special. And guys, that's gonna be it for today. What are the best kinds of fishes to try here on Queen? It depends what you're looking for. I'm not actually the world's biggest fish expert, but it's a very subjective question. Everybody, thank you for being here. Really, really quickly, exclamation mark Patreon. Exclamation mark Patreon if you would like to support the cooking show. That's the best way to directly support what we do here. Every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, we're live, twitch.tv/DaramgarTV, 5 p.m. EDT. Next stream is going to be this Friday, coming on up. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. It is lovely to have all of you. Thank you for all of the support today. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your Wednesday night. Have a good rest of your work week. And I'm going to see you all in 2 days' time, maybe with some Japanese curry. That is what I'm feeling at the moment. 2 days' time. See you guys then. Thank you all for being here and have a lovely night. Bye-bye.